What is up, everyone? Welcome to another Red and Gold Standard podcast. Zach, unfortunately, is feeling under the weather. He cannot join us tonight. Thoughts go out to him with the swift recovery. Bad timing right at the start of the football season. But fear not, I am joined by my man, Mike Andrews from Nothing But Niners, back in action again. This is our last live stream simulcast together. Mike, how you feeling tonight, man? It's the eve of the new season.
You know, I have been one of these people where the emotions of the season has been slowly like coming. It was so much negative, and then it went from negative to like in the middle, like this teetering. Like, are they really going to screw this up with Bosa? What's going to happen? Like, and then all of a sudden, just boom, the Niners are back. They're full strength, and I'm officially excited for tomorrow, man. I really, really am. I can't wait to talk about this upcoming game.
Absolutely, I am too. And we're going to jump into our game preview. If you're familiar with us here on 49ers Hive, we go through what we expect of the game, offensive, defensive MVP, and we'll go with the final score prediction. If you do get the final score prediction correct, which has happened before, you are going to win a 49ers jersey of your choice. We are continuing that tradition going on. But, Mike, I got to start. We had a show not too long ago about the Nick Bosa signing. More details have come out, including the 49ers restructuring Eric Armstead to actually now have over $41 million in cap space for the 2023 season. And that is the most in the NFL. There's a lot of speculation about what's going on with what the 49ers are going to do. Are they going to add a piece? Is this an early look at a Brandon Ayuk extension? You know, Talanoa Hufanga's going into year 3. They got to start maybe lock him up in the offseason. Mike, what do you make of the 49ers fiddling around with the cap and just really getting a lot of cap space at this point in time? Something that we really kind of weren't expecting.
Right. I expected this Bosa deal to kind of put them up against it. We knew that they were going to try to rework or remanage that $17 million that he was on the books for, that $18 million that he was on the books for this year. But I wasn't sure about how that was going to go. And then the next thing you know, boom, the Niners are amongst the top of the league in cap space. And that's interesting because just a couple of days before the deal was announced, I'm sorry, I think I got like dog fur in my mouth. That's nasty. I'm sorry. Just a couple of days before, I was talking to Tony, our resident GM over at Nothing But Niners, and we was talking about the cap hell that we were in next year and how we were already negative and blah, 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 blah. And now, like, here the Niners are with, you know, 20, 30, 40 million dollars ready to roll it over if they want to. I mean, how else do you get out of it? You know, there's some negatives. There's some people that think that, you know, we shouldn't be kicking this money down the field. We keep restructuring every year. I swear every year it seems like Eric Armstead restructures his deal every year. But they did Kittle, they did Trent Williams, and they did Eric Armstead. Here's what I'll say about those 3 players in particular. I am okay with them kicking the money down the road if it's going to make us available to play and maintain other players or sign other big free agents, as long as the Niners plan on making those 3 guys in particular Niners for life. This is the only team Eric Armstead has ever played for. I would love to see him retire a Niner. I would love for this to be the last team that Trent Williams ever plays for. And obviously, I would love to see George Kittle retire a Niner. I would absolutely love to see that. So I liked it. It gives us some flexibility. People are saying, oh, is this money for Brock Purdy? Well, Brock Purdy can't even begin negotiating until the end of next season. People are saying, is this for Brandon Ayuk? I don't know if Brandon Ayuk is going to be more valuable in the system than Deebo Samuel, so I don't even know what that is. Could it be a free agent out there somewhere? People are throwing out Brian Burns and things like that. It's a lot to keep an eye on. It's a lot, but here's the best part about all of it. The Niners could do any or all of it that we just mentioned. All those different possibilities, the Niners have it right at their fingertips, and they just have to pull the trigger. So that is pretty cool to see a team this stacked with this much roster flexibility and salary cap space. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we were all kind of wondering what's taking the deal so long. And I think a lot of people underestimate when you do these type of deals, there was obviously other irons in the fire. And I think that it's pretty clear that the 49ers were going to give Nick Bosa kind of what he wanted. They just kind of had to work out the next couple of years for their cap space with other guys coming up. You look at the dead money deal on, some of the details came out for the Nick Bosa contract today. You look at the dead money deal. I mean, you're looking at huge dead cap hits, but the cap number itself is actually low for 2023 and 2024 relative to the contract. 2023, his cap number is 11 million. Next year it's 14. But if you look at the dead money, $87.5 million in dead money, which represents obviously the signing bonus that he got,
Right.
that sort of thing. The 49ers are not going to get cap relief from this potentially until at least 2026. And even then, the big money will come 2027 if they want to, get out from under this deal. I can't see that happening per se.
Right.
What I think is going to happen is this is another instance of Parag looking at, the 2026 season when he's in his age 29 season. They're going to reevaluate what Nick Bosa's contract is. And that's when you're going to see the restructure. It is a little concerning to me with Eric Armstead and George Kittle and some of those other guys that they're restructuring. They're getting closer to age 30. And really a restructure is paying out a signing bonus rather than a salary for the year. But it kind of kicks the can down the road on the cap hit. And I wonder at what point is this going to catch up with the 49ers? You know what I mean? They're kind of loading up their credit card, so to speak. And that bill is going to come due. But I think this is a clear sign that they want to make moves while they have Brock Purdy on the Mr. Irrelevant contract. So that their window is firmly it's now and maybe next year and the year after, and that's it. They're going to be in cap hell after that.
It's interesting you mentioned it's kind of like just taking the salary and converting into a signing bonus and all that. But George Kittle was adamant, like, I didn't get a $10 million signing bonus. I would have loved to. I love signing bonuses, but I didn't get that. And it makes me really wonder what exactly his restructure looks like, because he was one of the two players we heard in the offseason or during training camp speak and say that this was an important year because all the guarantees were done. Him and Trent Williams, both, if I'm not mistaken, were soon to be out of guaranteed money. So it's cool to see them get the restructure and all, but I would love to know what the details are with those contracts. I don't know if that information is actually available or not.
I'm looking at over the cap right now, and I don't see anything crazy at this point in time. George Kittle's cap number for this season is 9.4, but it jumps to 21.9 next season. And I'm wondering if that's the signing bonus is going to hit at some point. I don't know how they do their signing bonuses, if it's something that they give immediately, right? Because guaranteed at signing is different than a signing bonus. Right. I wonder if that's something where George might get that at the end of the league year. There are intricacies to the salary cap that I just don't understand, if I'm being completely honest. I'm usually pretty good at math, but I like mathematics in a way that's not, a snooze fest, which I find accounting to be. This is all this is accounting. And every time I sit down, me and my wife take turns every year doing taxes, right? I do them one year, she does them the next. And when she does it, it's super smooth. When I do it, I sit down and 5 seconds in, I'm pissed because I just hate the minutia of accounting. And it's I don't know, man. It's rough. So all this accounting is weird to me. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but it sounds like George hasn't gotten his money yet. I don't think that they can defraud the NFL though, and like not, announce that they're giving him a bonus. I guess it's just a matter of when he's going to get it.
It could also be like a roster bonus. Like they know for sure they're not going to cut him. So boom, he's going to be on the roster. Like Nick Bosa has something that's going to kick in if he's not cut by like March something, or I forget what the day is, but like he's going to get an extra $20 million or something. I forget. I was reading the details on it in a tweet. So it could be things like that for guys like George Kittle and Trent Williams as well. It doesn't have to be just a signing bonus. And the dead money that Matt was mentioning earlier, guys, I want to remind you guys, like, you don't have to worry about that unless that player is not on this team. The dead money isn't going to really be an issue. And I'll be honest with you, I know you talked about this year 11 million, next year 14 million, then it goes up in 2025 to 21. All three of those are actually really good cap hits for the best defensive player in the NFL. All three of those are considered deals, in my opinion.
Exactly. And so I think at the end, the year after the 21, I think it goes up to like 40 something.
43.
It's like it's a big jump. I think that's the year that they restructure, turn that into a bonus, and then they kick the can down the road on Nick Bosa. Randy Daytona brings up a good point. He says the cap will be up a bit more in 3 years. New TV money always coming in, new deals being restructured. The NFL continues to make money. It has been a given, but we are in a weird economy right now. I'm not trying to get political or anything like that, but it's going to hit all sectors at some point, right? And so we wonder, we saw earlier this year, ESPN with mass layoffs of their talent. They have the Monday Night Football contract. Do they get out from under that? Thursday Night Footballs with Amazon, Fox and CBS continue their Sunday coverage. At what point do they decide, okay, we can't really go up anymore because everybody's streaming, ad revenues are down. We don't really get the bang for the buck. I would say to pump the brakes on just assuming that the cap is going to go up. I mean, it's been a fairly safe assumption, but the economics of cable and advertising and the way that the NFL is distributed, I mean, really the only reason people have live TV anymore is for sports, pretty much. I mean, that's a given.
And that's why DirecTV held on to the Sunday ticket for so long, right? No one wanted that. No one wanted to deal with the satellite, but I can watch any game I want as long as it's out of market, which if it was in market, you just need an antenna and you can see it, right? But
or a VPN.
Right. But the thing is, like, YouTube has increased the price so much that it's actually turning a lot of people off. And I don't know if YouTube was doing that, hoping that some people would just buy it, because I've seen a lot of promotions. Oh, if you buy it right now, you save $100. If you buy it right now, you save $50. Like, they had all kinds of crazy promotions.
I'm guilty of that shit. I bought it like day one.
You did get it?
Oh, Sunday ticket? Oh, yeah. I got so I already had YouTube TV. That's usually, I don't like regular cable, but YouTube TV, like, I just like it, runs well. It's like free DVR in the cloud, that kind of stuff. But it was like the $100 off plus an extra $50 if you were already a subscriber to YouTube TV.
Right.
Like $150 off. Before this year, when it was still when it was still DirecTV, I still had my old like school email address. So I'd use the student version, and then it was like really cheap. It was like $100.
Right.
But
yeah.
I don't, a lot of people I'm pretty tech savvy. But I'm not one of those guys that's willing to cruise around the internet trying to find like a mirror of a stream of a game that's going to crash like after 14 minutes. And then you got to find another one. That's not me. I'm fortunate enough that, I'm not hurting for money. So like, I'll just pay for the best experience. And I think that's a lot of what YouTube is counting on when they get the NFL, because sports is serious business, right? It's not just the game itself. It's everything that comes attached to it. There's fantasy football. There's online sports betting. There's XYZ. There's all this stuff that goes into the NFL experience. And I think a lot of people are willing to pay to just have that at the tip of a finger because of all the externalities. And the fact that, I mean, let's face it, it's once a week. you're committed to a day of just sports. And I know that most NFL fans don't just stop at one game, right? 49ers typically play afternoon games. We're lucky here on the West Coast. That means from 10 to 1 o'clock Pacific time, I'm watching Red Zone for the early games. And I'm monitoring my fantasy guys. I'm doing all that stuff. So it's just interesting that, I think that YouTube and Google and, the parent company Alphabet, they know exactly what they're doing. I mean, they've been running algorithms and they know their pricing structure and they know what they can get away with. They're able to price things in a way that, it's like, it sucks, but it's not so egregious that I'm not going to pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely. Yep. I completely agree. So
quick question. Go ahead and finish your thought. And then
I was just going to say that I agree with what you were saying about, I would be very cautious with the prices of just from the TV revenue jumping so much in the near future. I would say this will be probably the last year that it happened, and then we might see it actually stay steady. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not other streams and sponsors and things like that. I know that they're working out small deals with Nickelodeon and all that, but those are very, very small. Those aren't the ones that's really making the salary gap.
And I would say that to be cautious because Nickelodeon is under the same umbrella as CBS. It's owned by Viacom. So there could be like a sweetheart deal that the NFL worked out with CBS when they were doing the thing to have those like, oh, here's the slime game or like the slime cam and all that stuff. And that's just a way to really cater to kids and bring in a whole new generation of consumer. So they definitely know what they're doing in that regard for sure. All right. So we got Melissa. Welcome back, Melissa. Haven't seen you in a while, but hope you're doing well. She's curious as to who we think is going to have the bigger day tomorrow, Diamador Lenore or Talanoa Hufanga.
I think Demo is going to be the much busier guy. Now, for better or worse in the results of it, I'm not sure. I like his feistiness. I like what he brings to the table. He's of all the DBs. First, I was going to say corners. Of all the DBs, he's got the attitude that I like the most. So I'm hoping he has a phenomenal day. But what we can't do is see him give up 3 catches for 70 yards and start trashing him if he was targeted 10, 12 times. You know what I'm saying? So we just have to keep everything in mind and really give honest assessments. Like the Steelers aren't going to be held to only passes to tight ends and running backs. So we got to let reality set in a little bit.
Did you? So I agree with you. I think Diamador is going to have the busier day just by virtue of the fact that they have some weapons on the outside between Pickens and Deontay Johnson. I think that he's going to be working. Do you think that the 49ers are going to stick to a side, or do you think they're going to put like Charvarius Ward on a guy and have him travel across the field?
So that's a really good question. I think that they're going to do boundary side thing, unless one guy is clearly being manipulated on the offense, if that makes any. So if they take, let's say Allen Robinson, right? He's kind of like the guy that everyone's forgetting about. But if they find a favorable mismatch for him and they keep putting him on that one person, I think the Niners might switch things up. And that's the wrinkle that we have to see here. I talked about blitz packages all offseason from Steve Wilks. It's also how he's going to deploy these defensive backs. That's his specialty. And that's what gets me really excited because I don't know. That's the one thing that I don't know about yet is what these DBs are going to look like in the blitz packages. Everything else, I think, is going to be part of the course. I think we know what to expect from the linebackers and the defensive line, even the offense. I think we know what to expect from the offense. It's what's going to happen in that secondary. That's the really, really exciting part. I think he wants those guys to be cross-trained. I think that's why we saw Demo in one game in preseason in the nickel. And then we saw Womack in the nickel. And then we saw Womack outside. And then we saw, they were moving everybody all around except Ward. He's the only one that I didn't really see getting a lot of the movement in and out of the lineup. He was also dinged up a little bit and taking his time coming back. So I would like to see them match up. If the defense finds a guy that they like, switch off and do some things, but I have no idea how it's going to play out.
Yeah, I think the Steve Wilks factor is a very important one and something to look out for. And I am a little concerned with the injury to Charvarius Ward, the heel thing. That heel thing always gives me pause. I'm like, do they mean heel or do they mean Achilles? Like, it's a fine line, right? Like, did he hit his heel on something, or or is he having some type of like, pressure sensation when he steps on the ground? I don't know, man. It's one thing that's kind of concerning, but there is some caveat to that, which I'll go to in a minute. I just want to bring up this comment from Ellis Jr. Clarence. Better yet, just go to a bar and watch it for free. Dude, I have had bar bills that are more expensive than an entire year of Sunday ticket, my brother.
Absolutely. And more importantly, though, I like the in-game experience. I like going out and being in a crowd, especially if it's a game that is not the Niners. Yeah. I love getting the energy from other people.
If it's the Niners, I can't be around a lot of people.
Exactly. If I'm at home, like I just have to pick where I'm at when I'm watching a Niners game. Like sometimes my kids start talking to me too much, and I'll yell at them, and they'll stand there and look at me. I'm sorry. Daddy was in football mode. I'm sorry. What is it? Yeah. What do you want, baby? Like, and it's like, it's tough. It's really, really tough. But Niners, I am locked in. I am focused, and I like to talk my talk during it. That's why I do what I do. So.
Yep. Melissa says, off topic. Thanks, Mike, for calling out the refs and Chiefs cheating. That shit is so exhausting. That was wild. The fact that, and it was so funny you pointed out. It's like they're highlighting this dude doing illegal shit on the broadcast, and they're not going to do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
but I mean, ball don't lie, right? Detroit won in the end, which is a fantastic win for Detroit. And it actually makes me think that, and obviously Travis Kelce will come back and Chris Jones will come back, whatever. But this shows me that even somebody like Patrick Mahomes, when you got busted receivers, it's hard to win. The fact that KC came out and threw or only scored 20 points, I know they were missing Kelce. Kadarius Toney had like probably the worst game you could have.
Yeah,
and I feel
3
bad.
Huge drops, led the turnovers and everything. But those guys. I mean,
did you see the Twitter picture, by the way, of it was like the ball right in Kadarius Toney's hand, and it was like this turned into a pick six. It's just like, dang, man, you can't even.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take anything away from Detroit Lions defense, which played outstanding, I thought.
Yeah, they played really, really well. I think that, the Chiefs are a good team. Everyone's talking about the fall. I saw it all over ES. It's silly. It is very, very silly. Like, don't do that. And even without Kelce, they had good plays called and things like that. The receivers just dropped so much. There was a one play where he threw it to, I think it was a pass to Toney, but Richie James ran into the ball. And so he didn't put his hands out, and then the ball slaps him in the thigh and stuff like that. Like, it's just weird stuff that was happening throughout the game. It was
Speaking of Richie James, did you see the punt return he had where the dude flew behind him and was on the ground, and then Richie James was like dancing around, and the dude got back up and then tackled him from behind, and it was like a net 3 yard. I was like, Richie James is still Richie James, the worst damn returner I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and I was complaining about Ray McLeod last year, and I apologize to you, Ray. What I saw there brought back a host of memories. It's almost like I was like a battered fan watching Richie James return that punt. I was like, oh no, dude, that's so bad.
Yeah, I didn't like seeing it at all. So.
This is a good question from Hung Fat. How much will Bosa play?
So I haven't broken down Kyle's full presser yet. Coming to Patreon probably tonight, actually. But I will say that according to Bosa, he's ready to play the full game. So we'll see what Kyle and the coaches decide, but he said he's ready to go. And I'm hoping that they don't. I hope that they let him go out there and play. And if he feels something tightening up, then he has to say it. And he is a Bosa. He will say it. You'll see him on the sideline. Once you see him with that rolling pin on his thighs, we know he's starting to feel a little tight. Expect there to be some more rotation going on once you see that.
So I know that they're very. This is going to sound. I'm going to pause myself ahead of time. They're both him and his brother are both very flexible, and they work on flexibility. I'm not so much worried about that, but are you as concerned as I am about the lack of contact, the lack of building up that callus? To me, it's less about he's feeling tightness in his hamstring because he's locked up. Me, it's more like, dude took a knee to his thigh and he hasn't been going through that in camp. So that's going to hurt him more than it would otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Like you get used to, you get conditioned to the feeling of getting hit in certain ways. Do you think that that's going to be a factor?
Yeah, but I think that's going to be a factor for all of these guys. Other than a couple of snaps in preseason, no one's really been out there going full contact like that. Maybe some in the joint practice against the Raiders. It was the Raiders, right? Yeah, it was the Raiders that we did the joint practice with. But for the most part, those guys aren't making that kind of full contact even in practice anyway. But it is still some callus that's built up, some residual there. He's gonna have to go through it, but he's been playing football his whole life. I'm not worried about it. I'm not too worried about it.
All right, perfect. So one of the things that when we talked about Diamondor Lenore being busy and stuff like that, did you see the thing with I think it was Solak put it up where it was like a podcast, and he was asked the question, how many times that the Steelers had 400 yards of offense in the last 35 games since their new offensive coordinator came into town, and the answer was 0. Does that surprise you?
Okay. When you said it, yes. But then when you think about how long Ben Roethlisberger's been gone, or, the good version of Ben Roethlisberger, no, it doesn't surprise me. That team was pretty ugly since he left. And I saw some weird thing that the Steelers haven't won a playoff game since like 2017 or 16. So when you stop and really think about it, we credit Mike Tomlin a lot with never having a losing season, but you haven't done shit either. And going on 7 years, like now, I'm not really surprised. They've had a lot of turmoil at the quarterback position. They start running their running backs into the ground. So, they'll get some guys, they'll get some big plays every once in a while, but that's not going to be how it goes all the time. So I think that it's kind of the norm for them. It's their new norm until it's not.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, a lot of people are like, oh, the Steelers have this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and they're so good. They're so good. And it's one of those things where I think one of the other stats they said was since that stat, so the last 35 games, which is like 2 seasons plus, I guess, like 2 seasons and some change, there have been 266 instances of other teams getting 400 yards of offense, and that's 23% of like the games played or whatever the case may be. It's just kind of a surprising stat because, people are talking like the Steelers are going to come out and just kind of boat race the 49ers in a lot of circles. A lot of the betting is on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of the talking heads in the media are picking the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think it's very interesting to go a little bit deeper into the stats and kind of find out what's going on. Michael Catanzaro asks, who do we think will have a big game on offense tomorrow, and who will score the first touchdown for the 49ers in 2023? And let me add a little bit more, Mike, if you're going to answer this. Will the first touchdown be a pass or a run?
I'm going to say it's going to be a pass. I think it's going to be Brandon Ayuk. And then who's going to have a big game tomorrow? I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit that's out there. I'm actually going to say Debo. I think that they're going to really try to incorporate Debo and get him established and make people respect all the weapons that are out there. I don't know if George Kittle's going to play, guys. I know that they're saying he's okay and, he's just questionable and he should be fine and everything, but I don't know what's going on. I don't know what drinks they were serving over there at tight end university this year, but there's a lot of top tight ends in the NFL that are 50-50 game time decisions. And we even saw Kelsey not playing already.
I saw your tweet about that earlier.
It's something wild, man. So I think Debo's going to be the big name to watch for, especially because they're saying it might rain. So the short passes to Debo, and he's a yak guy. He's already slippery in a dry game. Imagine what it's going to be like when it's raining. The short passes is going to get the ball there quickly and let Debo do what he does. Debo has to be the special weapon tomorrow.
Yep, and I want to say welcome, Chrissy. Welcome, everybody else. Hung Fat, Melissa, everybody that's here. Thank you for joining us. I kind of agree with you. I think the first touchdown of the season is going to be a pass, but I think it's going to be Deebo Samuel that scores it. In terms of who is going to have a big day, I'm not going to take the low-hanging fruit either. I think when you're referring to the low-hanging fruit, I think you're talking about Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Brock Purdy. I think so in the last couple of years, and by the way, I watched Brock Purdy's brother in that Nebraska-Colorado game come in and throw one pass. If y'all thought Brock Purdy didn't have arm talent, you should go watch his brother because that shit looked like a 10-year-old.
He got hit or it got tipped, right? Please tell me that was a tip ball.
It got batted down at the line, but like his windup and even the ball coming out just was so long. It seemed to take forever.
The way Twitter blew up because he's Brock Purdy's younger brother was absolutely uncalled for and insane. Like, that was absolutely nuts. Like, if it weren't for him being Brock Purdy's brother, I don't think anyone would have mentioned it, and no one would have even noticed. It was literally just one play.
And can we talk about that his name is Chubba?
Well, yeah. I was gonna say I've never seen that name before, but I would be lying to you because Chubba Hubbard.
Yeah.
What is that? That name has to have some kind of like.
It's a nickname. I just looked up his Wikipedia. His actual name is Preston. So it is a nickname, and I'm wondering if Brock has a. No, his name is just Brock. So Chubba Purdy's name is actually Preston Purdy. He was probably like a Michelin tire baby. So you know how that goes.
They both have that round baby face, so you can tell that. Well, at least I think you can tell that they were kind of chunky. Like even me, right? I'm a heavy guy. A lot
of people thought that Chubba looks like Zach Wilson.
Oh shit!
Which I kind of saw, but Zach Wilson has that baby face too. I would be shocked if Zach Wilson even owns a razor blade because that dude doesn't even look like his beard has ever come in.
Oh God!
So. My reasoning for the Purdy thing, sorry. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One other thing about the first touchdown scored. There is a big part of me that thinks that it's a red zone play. No one's available, and Purdy runs it in himself. Just so you guys know, that was the number 2 option in my mind. I just want to put that out there in case it happens. I can see Purdy running it in. We get down there, and no one's open. He just takes off and runs it in himself.
Okay. I can see that, too, as a red zone touchdown. I think that they'll be, like 40 yards out. And Purdy's just going to hit Deebo on a slant, and he's just going to go.
He's going to go crazy. Yeah,
he's going to go. My thing is traditionally, and before I got sidetracked with the Chubba Purdy thing, the 49ers quarterbacks in the rain have been less than stellar. We all, again, no hate to Trey Lance because that any quarterback would have been in trouble for that game. I mean, even Justin Fields was in trouble until miraculously the rain let up for those 2 touchdown drives, right? Exactly. That was ridiculous. It was so bad that you couldn't even see the numbers or the lines on the field. It was just wet, right? That was a monsoon. But when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback, and we had a couple of rain games with him, most notably against the Baltimore Ravens, most notably against the Washington Commanders, both of those in the 2019 season. Who can forget the Nick Bosa sliding in the mud celebration? But Jimmy Garoppolo seemed to, I don't know what it was. When that ball was wet, the way that Jimmy Garoppolo throws the football, it just seemed to die. It seemed like the football was like 6 times as heavy. You know what I mean? Like it just nosedived every time. I think that Brock, because he's not an arm guy anyway, he's more a touch guy, is going to be able to adjust a little bit better. And they're going to be working near the line of scrimmage, which is going to drive the haters crazy, right? It's all yak, it's all this, it's all that. But that's the way that the offense is going to be designed. And I think it's important that, the 49ers can see like, hey, we can do our offense in the rain. We don't have to worry about this kind of thing. And it's important for Purdy to come out because regardless of whether you like him or not, no one can deny that the pressure is now on him. He's not, like you've said before, Mr. Irrelevant anymore. He is the anointed QB1 for the San Francisco 49ers, right? We already got Grant Cohn with the announcement of the $41 million in cap space coming out and saying like, somebody asked, what are they going to use that cap space on? And he goes, Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? So like it's it's going to happen. You know what the next narrative is. The minute Purdy throws an interception, they're going to be like, see, he sucks. We should have kept Lance. We need to go get Kirk Cousins. We need to do this. We need to do that. We're all going to hear it. It's all going to be super tired, whatever. I think that Purdy is a competitive guy. You can tell in the way that he carries himself. I think he's going to come out and show, even in the rain, that he is the guy, and he's going to shut some stuff down real quick. So that's why I kind of have him as a guy that's going to have a really good offensive day.
Yeah, I hope you're right too. I am so over the quarterback conundrums that are here. Like, and we think we get it settled, and then all of a sudden, here comes the tweets and the reports that Kyle tried to trade a 2nd-round pick for Kirk Cousins in 2017, but Washington wouldn't even answer the phone. And this is why that report in particular bothered me. 1, who cares now? 2, I understand that we have the cap space and Kirk Cousins is scheduled to be a free agent next year, but we'll see what happens. But my thing is this. How does a report like that come out saying that he was going to give a second-round pick when no one answered the phone? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. How can you sit there and confirm, oh, I called Washington and offered a second-round pick, but they never answered, they never picked up? Well, both of those statements can't be true. You can't tell people you offered anything if they didn't answer. So I don't know, man. I'm so over it, man. Like, Brock Purdy's the quarterback. In Brock we trust until it's not Brock. Like, that's just the way it is. I'm over it.
Exactly. It's gotten tired at this point. It's much ado about nothing, but we know that every move that Brock Purdy makes this year is going to be over scrutinized, over analyzed. Every mistake is going to be, heightened, and every good play is going to be heightened. Mike, why don't you take this question from, or it's not a question, but like more a statement from Melissa. Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa together. What can we expect?
We haven't seen it, so I have no idea what to expect, right? I think a lot of people are looking at Hargrave as a pass rusher, and that's why they get excited. And I don't see him that way at all, guys. I mean, his history doesn't support it at all. I understand that he had the 11 sacks last year with the Philadelphia Eagles, but the truth of the matter is those 11 sacks came on a really, really stacked defensive line. Now, we have that same thing going here, and it could be similar. It could be more of the same. But we shouldn't expect that of him. If you look at him throughout a career, he is a 3 to 5 sacks a year type of guy, which is any defensive tackle that's a good starting defensive tackle. So I don't expect a lot from him in there. I expect him to be stout. I expect him to be good. I expect him to be better against the run than I do against the pass, and that's not what people are expecting of him right now. So I just want people to temper their expectations for him. For him, if he happens to get double-digit sacks again, great. Kudos to him. It would be great to have someone else doing that other than Nick Bosa on this team. But I am cool with 4 sacks from him, four sacks from Armstead, 4 sacks from whoever is the opposite guy of Nick Bosa, and Nick Bosa going out there with this 10+ again. Like, I just want to see a healthy rotation and everybody out there getting after it. I'm not going to put all that kind of pressure on Hargrave.
Absolutely. So, guys, I don't normally run this stream, so if I'm behind in the comments, please forgive me. I'm getting through them as fast as I can, looking for good questions. Now, do you think that the playing next to Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead will spoof his numbers a little bit in terms of Javon Hargrave? Will he not fall off as much as maybe he would have otherwise, due to the fact that, like you touched on, it's a loaded defensive line, and just by virtue of Nick Bosa being, again, the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, the reigning defensive player of the year, do you think that those double teams actually make it so that Hargrave does a little better than he normally would in the pass rush?
He's going to have it. It's going to look similar to how it was last year, right? He ate against those one-on-ones and obvious passing downs. That's the other thing, too. If you look at where his sacks came from, I think he had one game with 3 of them, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to say take away that game and then what do you have, right? But it's also like he benefited from the Eagles having 3 other players around him with double-digit sacks as well. They all benefited from each other. You got to pick your poison, and the guy that's not getting the double teams, they have to go out there and make something happen. He's good enough to make something happen, and that's what we have to be happy about.
So, again, Melissa brings up she's had some bangers today. A lot of people are picking the 49ers to lose because Purdy is coming off an injury, and the perception of Kyle Shanahan, is that he always starts off slow. Now the Steelers in the last couple of years have started 1-4, 1-3. They start slow as well. And in the Kyle Shanahan era, not counting the first 2 years when they were really bad, the worst roster in the NFL, talking from 2019 on, the odd number of years they have won their first game of the season. Do you think that this whole Shanahan always starts off slow thing is a little bit overblown, given that it's come in NFC championship years where the team has been under 500 after X amount of weeks? Do you think that that's something that people kind of latch onto and run with?
Not only do they latch onto it and run with it, but it's also quarterbacks that miss significant time the year before, and then they're coming back in and getting acclimated back to playing speed, right? Jimmy Garoppolo, 2019, we're ready for him. In 2020, boom, he gets injured. 2 weeks in 2020, he's gone for the rest of the season, comes back in 2021 with a slow start. Like, those are the things that just happen. Brock Purdy's injury does not matter anymore. He is 100% healthy. In fact, he was ahead of schedule for a long time. So that's why the team was comfortable with moving on from Trey Lance and things like that. I am not going to use the injury excuse at all for Brock Purdy. I expect him to come out here, and I expect this team to pick up where they left off with healthy Brock Purdy. Now, what does that mean? Because postseason Brock Purdy wasn't nearly as effective as some of the other games going into it. He also didn't play any defenses quite as good as what Pittsburgh is projected to be. I'm doing projected in air quotes. We didn't play a lot of those top defenses until the postseason with the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? So I expect it to be somewhere in the middle. I'm looking for something in the middle, but still, we should dominate the time of possession in this game. Our defense is too good to let a quarterback. Well, I don't want to throw any insults to Pickett, but we're too good of a defense to go out there and let those guys dominate us.
I will remind you.
In our favor.
I just want to remind you of the Seattle game because Brock Purdy was the completion percentage was a little lower. But on 18 completions, he had 332 yards and 3 touchdowns with no picks. So he played well in that first playoff game.
Right.
Dallas did kind of shut him down a little bit. That game was weird. A 19-12 game with what the offensive weapons on both teams were was a little weird. That was a weird one. It is what it is. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. And coming back off the injury, he should be 100%. That shouldn't be an issue. I don't think the Steelers have the defense that everybody thinks that they do. I'm just not sold on it. TJ Watt was very injury prone last year, and he's the name, right? If you have a name, people assume your defense is good. Dallas traditionally did not have a good defense, but because they had Micah Parsons, and here's case in point, speaking of the Dallas Cowboys.
Parsons and Diggs, yeah.
Two seasons ago, Diggs led the league in interceptions. But then when you broke down the numbers, he also gave up more than 1,000 yards receiving to opposing receivers. So it was like people assume that, their defense is good because Diggs has 11 picks. It's like, yeah, but he gave up like 1,400 yards to other receivers. Like, that's not good. He's the ultimate boom or bust guy. And I think that single factor analysis really plays a role. But when you start going into the Steelers defense, one name that they have TJ Watt, obviously, right? Another name they have is Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick, to me, has not been the same Minkah Fitzpatrick that he was before he got to Pittsburgh, and even in that first year in Pittsburgh. I think that a lot of times people live off of borrowed credibility, and to me, the Steelers have not been a top defense. I don't know what they ranked last year, but I'm going to assume that it wasn't top 10.
Right. Well, I don't have the ranks pulled up in front of me, but I do want to remind people that without TJ Watt being the version of TJ Watt that was the previous year's defensive player of the year, they did have 2 guys with 25 sacks between the 2 of them. So like the Steelers do have other guys that will get after it. So it's going to be, to me, it's similar to what the 49ers defensive line is going to look like. Maybe the nod might even go to the Steelers because Watt being healthy now, Hayward being out there and being completely healthy right now. Holcomb is going to be an effective guy out there as well. So I kind of like it, and I can't say the other guy's last name, but Larry Ogunjobi. He's also going to go out there.
Larry Ogunjobi, I think. Yeah.
Right. He's going to go out there.
I've watched the Steelers before.
Right. So he's coming back, and he's going to go out there, and he's going to be getting his footwork, his feet together and everything. So, I think that the Steelers are going to be a little bit more respectful. They're at home, they're hyped, they're really excited about this, and we have Brock Purdy. But the cool thing about that is it's not going to affect this game. This is a quick run offense. This is a 3-step drop, get the ball out of your hands quickly. We're not doing a lot of 5-step, 7-step drops where we're going to be holding on to the ball and waiting for these long, deep developing routes to take place. So I'm not worried about the sacks in this game in particular. I think the Niners are going to be just fine.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat, Sean. Wasn't it the second overall pick? Yes, it was. We got some other guys going in here. Are you worried about Jake Moody kicking tomorrow if the weather's bad? Michael Catanzaro says he's worried if they're kicking when the weather's bad. Says he's not the guy that kind of costs us the game.
I'm worried about him just because he's a rookie and hasn't done it on the pro level yet. We saw what his first couple of attempts were in that first preseason game. Not good. He did have a good bounce back game, the last game of the season, of the preseason. But the injuries are there. He's coming back. Kyle did say that Wright would not be traveling with the team, if I'm not mistaken. I did hear that from Kyle Shanahan. So it is indeed Moody. But if the Niners have confidence in him, I mean, look, if we're depending on kick points to win this game, we're already in trouble. I expect this offense to go out there and do what they're supposed to do.
Halfdead says, "Where's Nick and Tony? What the hell is going on? I haven't been able to tune in since last year. Where did they go? I was bedridden in the hospital. This used to be my favorite 49ers show. What happened to Nick?" I'm assuming that you hate me since you said it used to be your favorite show. This is not a Nothing But Niners podcast. This is a 49ers Hive podcast. Mike is kind enough to joint stream. This is the last joint stream of the year. But thank you for joining us, and I'm glad that you're not in the hospital anymore. As someone who works in a hospital, my favorite thing is to tell patients, I wish you the best of luck. I hope I never see you again. That's something that we want to go. So I'm glad that you're starting to get better, and at least you're not in the hospital anymore. So thoughts with you. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. Hopefully it's not a terrible show for you. We do our best. So.
And I do want to encourage everybody that is in the chat right now from the Nothing But Niners stream, please go and subscribe to 49ers Hive. Again, this is a joint stream. I am a guest on the 49ers Hive show. These shows will continue throughout the year, but you won't find them on the Nothing But Niners channel anymore. So throughout the entire offseason, we have been working together and doing the joint things. But once that ball kicks off tomorrow, no more joint shows. If you want to see this, right, if you want to see this dynamic with myself, Matt, and Zach, you guys have to make sure you're subscribed to the 49ers Hive channel. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yep. And that's not to say, again, we've touched on this, and not to say that these shows won't continue in terms of, who's on with who. Mike is always going to be on our show. I'm looking forward to joining the Nothing But Niners show. It's just that they won't be simulcast. Halfdead said, I was in the hospital for the year. I was electrocuted at work, burn units in rehab. Dude, thoughts with you. When I was in the military, when I was a combat medic, I worked in the burn ICU, and that is a terrible, terrible place.
Really happy to see him back out here.
Really happy to see that you're recovering, and I hope that everything goes well for you. Moving on, not 49ers related, but Melissa's asking, did you see Colorado versus Nebraska earlier? Thoughts on Coach Prime and Travis Hunter?
Yeah, I was really excited. I've actually watched both of their games so far this year. We had to leave in the third quarter. I had to take my wife to the hospital today, so she's actually still there. But
prayers up for her, by the way.
So is it normal for a spouse to not be able to spend the night with in the hospital anymore? They told me visiting hours are over at 8, so we were there beyond 8 p.m.
It's really weird because I don't know what. It's going to be different. So I'm in California. Mike is in Pennsylvania, right?
And she's actually in a hospital in Jersey, though, because we're so close to Jersey.
In New Jersey. So I don't know the rules. I don't know if typically at our hospital, if it's a private room, we'll allow spouses to stay. Okay. But if it's not, and it's not something like when my wife had our baby, I was able to stay. That's that's a whole thing, right? Because you don't know, like baby could come at like 2:00 in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. But typically speaking, the visiting hours is kind of like firm, whatever.
And it's weird because we had 3 of our
tell us how you really feel, brother.
we actually had more than 3 kids in this hospital that she's at now, and that's why we went, because they let me stay every time the whole time.
I think it's the mother baby is or labor and delivery is different than the general hospital, and that's true even out here.
Right. But they told us, and it's weird because I had to, we were in the emergency room and they were like, all right, sir, we're taking her up. You have to say bye now. But when she got up, she video called me and she's in a private room. And I'm like, I wonder why they wouldn't let me stay up there. So it's all good. I got her food and everything. She can't really eat anything. She's eating through a straw. So I went and got her a couple of shakes and things like that, and gave her some water. And I said, all right, I'll see you in the morning. You better be out before 1:00. Otherwise I'm sending someone else to pick you up because it's game time.
Yeah. Yeah. You better be done by the time I'm getting there. Do you think that the 49ers can come out and make a statement, or do you think that they kind of with the travel to the East Coast, with the late signing of Nick Bosa, do you think, new defensive coordinator, do you think it's too much to overcome, or do you think that they know their window is now and they're talented enough to overcome kind of a lot of the offseason noise?
And that right there, the last part of what you said, right? The expectations are here for the Niners. The Niners are NFC favorites to make it to the Super Bowl. They're one of two teams that people are like just saying put them in the Super Bowl. It's either the Eagles or the Niners. Everyone's been saying it all off season. None of that has changed. And it's a catch-22. If the Niners come out and struggle, then people are going to say, oh, maybe they're falling off. Brock Purdy isn't who they thought they were. We're going to see all the negative stuff. If we go out there and blow them out, they're going to say, yeah, well, this is not a big deal. This is what they're expected to do. Like, it's the Steelers. Like, you haven't played anybody yet. We're going to get – it's not going to be anything that the national media is going to give us praise for and say, boom, the Niners are back. They're here. That's the team. They are who we thought they were. It's going to be a no-win situation for the 49ers. You go out there and you win by one. You go out there and you win by 4 possessions. It's not going to make a difference. It's going to be, that's what they were supposed to do, was just the Steelers. It's going to be, oh, they were struggling and they didn't look as good as we expected them to. So what are we going to do now? We just got to stick to the Niners content creators. Don't get your information from the national media, because I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Yeah, that's like what was it, the 2019 season where Adam Rank said we were going to be 3-13, and then they ended up going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's national media gets a little weird. I don't think they pay attention as well as other people do. Even a show that I really liked, Good Morning Football, they had some screwy picks for their like division winners and stuff, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Yeah. Does Kenny Pickett scare you at all?
Scare me? No. Not at all. He's a guy with small hands. I think the rain is going to affect them a little bit also. They're going to have to do some dink and dunk. I'm hoping that this is one thing I hope Wilks really implements, is letting these guys play closer to the line of scrimmage. I hate when the Niners line up 7, 8, 10 yards off the ball and give receivers so much cushion. It drives me crazy. I understood it when we had older people in the secondary. No knock on Richard Sherman, because he was really good at his job, right?
I knew you were going to say Richard Sherman.
but it wasn't just Richard Sherman. You know what
Josh
I mean?
Norman.
Right. We went through the Josh Norman phase. I mean, we had K'Wan Williams here. Now, granted, he was in the slot and things like that, right? So his responsibilities are a little bit different. But it was an older secondary, in large part. You know what I mean? Jaquiski Tart over there.
Yeah, it's like where
Jimmy
you want
Ward.
them to use their veteran experience to kind of diagnose a play in front of you, rather than, oh, my elderly, no offense, but like my older physicality, now they're behind me, right? Like, keep everything in front. Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
So I want to see them be a little bit more aggressive, especially knowing, again, the Steelers are a run-first team. They have respected wide receivers, but we got to go out there and make them earn it. Don't give them 7 yards every play. I don't want to see that. I want to see them playing a little bit more aggressive at the line of scrimmage, some press coverage, like get up there, put hands on guys within the first 5 yards, play the rules the way that they're supposed to be played, and make them earn it. That's what I want to see.
Christopher Hockenberry, is he a Steelers fan? He said, we practice in the rain. Pickett will surprise everyone this year. He might. I don't know. I just know that he's gonna be Kenny Two Gloves with those baby hands. But if there was one position group of the 49ers that you would not expect to struggle, but that you suspect might struggle, where would that come?
You said for a specific position group?
For position group, yeah.
I'm gonna go with the tight ends. And I do have are you talking about defense or offense, or just in general?
In general, any position group for the 49ers.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the tight ends just because, again, I don't expect George Kittle to play. If he does play, I think he's going to be limited and more of one of those kind of like distraction roles, one of those deterrents out there. But I do like Ross Dwelley. I do like I liked Fumagalli a lot. I really thought that, he should have been tight end too, based off of what we saw in preseason only. But
I like Braden Willis, though. I thought he did a good job.
Right. And I like Willis too. I'm going to be honest with you. I really like Latu, other than the drops. I really, really, really like what I saw from Latu. I like the route running. I like the precision. He was a willing blocker. I like Latu a lot, but he kept dropping the damn ball until the last game of the season, last game of the preseason, right? I think the tight ends are going to be a little shaky because they are going to have their hands full with deciding, or am I blocking on this play? Am I shedding? Am I acting like I'm blocking and getting off and running my routes and things like that? And the rain is going to mix it all up. I expect them to be a struggle. I'll shut up. I'll let you go, and then I do have another position group that I think is probably going to be some
so
problems.
I think I'm kind of in agreement with a lot of the people in the chat. The offensive line is what I'm worried about. If the Pittsburgh Steelers move TJ Watt around the line, I worry about Colt McKivitz right off rip. If they keep TJ Watt in front of Trent Williams, I think Trent Williams can negate TJ Watt. I'm not as worried about that. I thought that Trent Williams does a great job of, but sometimes even on our side, Nick Bosa will line up left. Sometimes he lines up on the right end. It depends, I think, on the matchup, and I think that is going to play out similar. I think they're going to move him, and if that's the case, again, like a lot of the people are saying, the O-line has. I mean, this isn't a really untested O-line. There's a lot of new pieces. I think that
it's not a lot of new pieces.
It's not new pieces. It's new responsibilities for older pieces, or pieces that have been here. And I think that can take some time, right? Because the last thing that you want is Purdy taking a lot of shots back there, or not being able to establish the run to set up the pass. Things that establish 49ers football, is predicated, especially under both the Jim Harbaugh era and now the Kyle Shanahan era, in running to set up the pass, doing those things. And that is all predicated on having a stout offensive line. So can this offensive line come out as a unit and perform? I think against a defensive line that does have a TJ Watt, that is something you definitely have to worry about. So for me, that's kind of where my mind goes, is can the offensive line neutralize the Steelers defensive line to the point where things open up at the second level, because now you have Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey and, Deebo Samuel behind the line, or, screens are just, working, as well as we want them to. And it becomes something where the 49ers establish that physicality up front. They establish the tone of the game. To me, that's a question mark. So what's your second one? Respond, and then what's your second one?
Yeah. Okay. So my response with Watt in particular, I know you mentioned like if they're going to move him around and all that, Watt will move around. There are 3-4 front guys, and Watt is an outside linebacker, specifically a weak side linebacker. So he usually lines up on the opposite side of where the tight end is. The tight end is going to be the strong side. So he's a weak side linebacker. He's going to typically be going against a tackle. If we put the tackle next to McKivitz, he's going to line up over Trent Williams, and I have all the confidence in the world in Big T. I have no issues with him at all. I think that he's going to be just fine. If they decide to put tight ends over with Trent Williams, one, why? If it's a passing down, why? I don't think that you need to do that. And then two, you're asking for trouble if that's the situation. Just don't do that to McKivitz. And again, I still think that their pass rush, regardless of who lines up where, will be neutralized, because it's going to be a lot of quick hits. And I'm hoping that we get some intermediate rain off and on, just so that way the Niners aren't trying to dial up a lot of shots down the field. I don't want to see that week one. I don't. I'd rather see Purdy go out here, get this win. Let's go home healthy. And then let's start practicing some of these deeper shots down the field. Let's start practicing some of Purdy's weaknesses. I started pulling up all kinds of charts, the next gen charts and all that stuff. And Purdy beyond 5 yards on the right side of the field, it seems to be where he struggles for some reason. And he's right-handed. So I don't know. But that's where I saw the numbers come down a little bit. Let's work on that kind of stuff in practice. We don't have to do it week one in front when the bullets are live and it really counts. Save it. Do what our strengths are right now. Run the ball effectively. Short passes in the middle and to the left. And let's just go out there and get this dub and go home, or, whatever. Oh, and my other position group. That's what.
Yeah, real quick before you get to that, I just saw this in the chat, and considering that it's one of the biggest upsets in UFC history, I got to shout this out. Congratulations to Sean Strickland, who beat Israel Adesanya to become the UFC middleweight champion of the world. Looks like it was a 49-46 across the board unanimous decision. That's crazy to me. Go ahead, Mike. Your second group.
It's not crazy because Adesanya, he's. This is going to sound disrespectful.
I feel like he's washed.
It's not that he's washed. He's boring to watch. Even like he's the Peyton Manning of UFC, right?
He wasn't before he won the title though. Like he was exciting before he won. He had finishes. Like he was going crazy. He got the title and then was about like, oh, I gotta keep this shit.
Right. And so that's kind of how I view him. If it ever comes to a decision, he's not a takedown type of guy. Well, anymore. He's not doing a lot of takedowns. And I know UFC scores heavy on takedowns, right? Even if you don't do anything down there, you strike, you get someone down, and they love that. That's how their grading system goes, right?
Yeah.
He's just not that kind of guy. Like he's just not that anymore.
It looks like from some of the stuff that I thought though, that like Sean Strickland like boxed him up.
Yeah. And if you can keep him on his feet, he likes to counter more than he likes to be the aggressor.
Yeah.
And if you're a good aggression person, you can jump in and then jump back out. You're going to win that on the cards easily. And it sounds like that's exactly what happened.
For sure. Yeah, how about your second position group, Mike? My
second position group is going to be it's going to counter everything that I said, but it's going to be the safeties. Now, I like Gibson a lot. I believe he's going to be the other starter out there with Talanoa Hufanga. Huff is not injured. I want to just say this and be very, very clear what I'm saying. He's not injured. He did have he did miss a practice due to a personal reason that the Niners did not divulge. It's not our business. I don't care what it was. He's healthy. He's going to be out here and he's going to be ready to play. But if the Steelers get desperate enough and they start taking some shots, I think we can see the age of Gibson and the inexperience of Hufanga start to kind of maybe play some key here, and we could be taken advantage of for a couple of shots down the field. Hufanga is a guy that kind of likes to I'm not going to say freestyle because they interchange between strong and free back and forth. That's what we've seen. However, I do think that our DBs can be beat deep. Our safeties in particular. So that is another position group I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to.
Will you be disappointed if Hufanga doesn't show growth from last year when it seemed like he got caught peaking a lot in backfields? That's my main worry is that, coming out of college, Hufanga wasn't exactly the most physically stellar guy. But right. I feel like last year, particularly, even though he made the Pro Bowl, he would give up a lot of stuff deep.
Yeah,
I remember particularly, that Miami Dolphins game where he was peeking at an underneath route to like Jalen Waddle or something and let Tyreek Hill get behind him. Mm-hmm. And to me, I was like, how do you let Tyreek Hill get behind you ever? Right? Period. Like if Tyreek Hill is running, I'm watching that dude because right. That's where he's going. Would you be disappointed if Talanoa Hufanga doesn't show significant growth in the passing game, particularly?
In week 1, no. Beyond week 5, yes. Is that fair? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I expect muscle memory to take over in the first game, and then you got to really drill it home. I expect Wilkes to get in his head and get there quickly, but I don't know that week 1 is going to be the week where we see the growth. You know what I'm saying? I think we see it as the season goes on. He'll get stronger. He'll get better. But week 1, I'm not expecting too much from him. I expect to see much of what we saw last year, and he'll get better as the season progresses.
Which area do you think the 49ers are going to excel at the most? So for me personally, I think the 49ers are going to be able to establish the short passing game really successfully. I think that they're going to eat within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage. And I actually think that the pass is going to be more effective than the run. I think that, you've always said it, right? Elijah Mitchell might be a better pure runner of the football than Christian McCaffrey. And I just think that in a wet weather game, normally you'd be like, oh yeah, run the football. For whatever reason, I just feel like the 49ers, particularly Christian McCaffrey, and with Elijah Mitchell coming off of yet another injury, I think the 49ers are going to try to get the ball in space still. Which area do you think the 49ers are going to excel at, offensively or defensively? Which area do you find that they're going to have the most success?
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually think the run game, only because McCaffrey and Mitchell are healthy, right? Mitchell's in there, right? So I'm expecting to see a really good 1-2 punch for the 49ers run game. I expect that, Kyle Shanahan said something. You mentioned that Washington game from a couple years ago when Nick Bosa did the slide and everything, right? He called it the mutters game. We had to find out who our mutters are. I think he's going to do that with the running backs. I think that if Christian McCaffrey is slipping all over the place, and it turns out that it's going to be a Elijah Mitchell type of day, or a TDP day, or a Mason day, I don't think Kyle's going to hesitate to have that rotation going. I think he's going to trust his coaching staff. I think he's going to listen to the players, and they're going to say, hey, let me try these cleats. If this doesn't work, I can't get my footing in here. Some of these guys are more choppy. Some of these guys are more decisive. Elijah Mitchell is a very decisive runner, right or wrong. Once he decides what hole he's going to hit, it is 1 foot in the ground and he hits that hole. He'll run into the back of a tackle, or he'll hit that hole and just explode. And that kind of decisiveness is going to reap a lot of benefits for the 49ers. And so I think the run game is where we're actually going to excel week 1.
The 2023 49ers, more or less turnovers forced than last season. And why?
Oh, man, I don't know how many turnovers we forced in total. I know we were at the top of the differential chart, but I don't know how many we actually forced.
Different question, maybe.
I can answer it.
Do we win the turnover battle against Pittsburgh? So
yes.
Answer, and then the second one.
Yeah, we definitely win the turnover battle. I think this is the veteran team here. We have the experience. We have the cohesion. These guys have all been playing with each other in one way or another for the last season, season plus. The skill position group is all going to be out there with the question of George Kittle. I think that we're all going to be there and ready to rock and roll, right? We're going to win the turnover battle for sure. This is not going to be like the game that we all went to week 3 in 2019, where it was 5 turnovers against the Steelers, right? That's not happening in this game. And as far as the total number of turnovers, I am going to make a definitive answer here. I'm going to say we get more. I think this 49ers offense scores a lot of points this year. I think that we're going to be back to the Kyle Shanahan in his full glory of offensive production, what he had with the Falcons, or what he had the final 6 games of last season, right? I think that we go ahead and pick up where we left off. I said that earlier in the show. I'm gonna stick with that. And if we're putting up those kind of points consistently, teams are going to be behind multiple scores. They're going to have to start airing it out. That's going to lead to sacks. It's going to lead to strip fumbles. That's going to lead to turnovers, interceptions. I say we go out there and we do the damn thing when the season's all said and done. The Niners end up with 40+ turnovers. 40+ turnovers.
Hey, that's some good ones right there. So, rain, Eastern Conference, whatever we've heard of. I was on with Ted, and he said the 49ers have like -20 rest days. Traditionally in even numbered seasons, they get off to this start, that start, this start, that start. Do you think that the 49ers feel like they have something to prove, despite the fact that they've made NFC championship games, despite the fact that Kyle Shanahan has had success? I mean, we got a guy in the chat right now. When Kyle gets fired, bring in Dion. Do you feel like the 49ers, with this offseason, the way that it played out, kind of controversial with the Trey Lance thing, definitely with the Nick Bosa, like waiting till the end of the offseason type of thing, will this galvanize the team to really get off to a good start? Do the 49ers come out week 1 and feel like the pressure is on them to try to prove that they are a good team? Or do you think that it's business as usual for them and they come out loose, feeling good, and kind of getting off to a good start?
I think it's both. I think they feel pressure. So this is the cool thing about the Niners, right? As much as people are saying, they're one of the top favorites in the NFC, blah, 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 they still have ways to motivate themselves, right? Brock Purdy wants to show everybody, hey, they believe in me for a reason, right? I'm no longer Mr. Irrelevant. I am here to take over. You got Brandon Ayuk, who's motivated by a contract year. Whether it be with the Niners or not, it's time to get paid, right? So that's a beautiful thing as well. Christian McCaffrey going into, knock on a lot of wood here, coming off a full healthy season, and now I want to show people I can do it back-to-back years. Elijah Mitchell, another guy, I believe, is this his last year under contract? I think this is Elijah Mitchell's last year, or either way, it's contract negotiation time for him. If he's going to be extended,
I think this is year 3 for him.
Right. So this is extension time. This is the year where your extension is going to be dictated off of what he does, right?
Yeah. So he should be on. He was a 6th round pick. He should be on a 4-year deal.
Right. So at the end of the third year,
this season will be extension time.
Right.
So he's playing for that contract.
Exactly, right? You have guys like TDP saying, "Oh, you guys want to bring in Mason? You think Mason's better than me? I was drafted. I got something to prove." And then you want to step back. Guys like George Kittle, they want to be healthy. They want to be productive. They want to be there. George Kittle had a tweet that I saw today, and I almost started to air him out, but he was like, "I just want to go out there and play a whole season with one quarterback." I'm like, dude, well, then be out there for the whole season, right? But George Kittle also has something to prove. And I think when it's all said and done, when George Kittle's healthy, he's the best tight end in the NFL. But you got to be healthy. That when healthy weighs a lot on a guy like George Kittle. Debo wants to show everybody, hey, what you saw last year is not my standard. Right? They have found ways to motivate themselves on the offensive side of the ball, the tackles and Colton McKivitz, right? Like, I got to show everybody why the team was comfortable with moving on from Mike McGlinchey. They all have their own reasons for motivation. The head coach and Kyle Shanahan, right? I said this on a Patreon show. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan's approval ratings are as low as they have ever been. And when I say as low as they've ever been, it might be like a 75% approval rating, right? If there was a way to actually, like, poll the faithful, 75% is still great, but it's not what it was at the end of last year, right? This offseason really ruffled a lot of feathers. There were a lot of people on the Trey Lance train, and then you traded them, and people got upset. There were a lot of people that were upset with how things were dragging out with Nick Bosa. Well, Nick Bosa is back, right? Those things are going to weigh into that approval rating, but they are all also motivated. John Lynch wants to show people, hey, like, I'm a GM. I'm a real GM. I got to prove it to you guys. I'm going to do it. Here's the cap space. Watch me work, right? Kyle Shanahan wants to show people I'm the real deal. I have been in 3 NFC championship games with undecided quarterbacks. Like, what else do you want me to do? Fine. I'll show you what you want me to do, right? The defensive side of the ball. You got Nick Bosa coming off of the biggest contract. Now he's got to go out there. I don't think he's going to feel like I have to earn it. I think he thinks he already earned it, but now he's got to show this is why I'm worth it. This is why I'm worth it, right? So he's going to go out there and say, this is what you paid me for. I'm here to do my job. I love the soundbite. He is a terrible mic'd up person, but of all the mic'd up comments that he ever made, it was, I just want to sack the quarterback, man. I just want to get a sack, right? Like, that resonates with me. Like, that's what his mind is saying in the middle of a game that the Niners are blowing out the opponent. I just want to get a sack. Like, I just want to hit him. I want to get him, right? I love that about Nick Bosa. Man of very, very few words, but the words that he says, they actually mean something. Diamador Lenore, in and out of the starting lineup. Ambry Thomas, like, you guys drafted me. You don't want me. You do want me. Which way am I going? Am I coming or going? Right? All of these guys out there have something to prove. We're questioning Talanoa Hufanga, who was just an all-pro, not just a Pro Bowler, right? Like, an all-pro, and people were, like myself, rolling my eyes when I say, yeah, he didn't deserve it. I said that on the mic after he got that nod. And by the way, after he got the nod, he had one of his worst games. But, like, there's enough doubt out there for everybody where they have plenty of motivation. Not only are they motivated and there's pressure, I think they are all going to answer the pressure really, really well. And that comes down to the coaching staff, making sure that these guys know what they're doing and they're going to go out there and execute. I have all the confidence in the 49ers this season.
I think the same. I want to go back to a comment that Randy Daytona had. He said, wow, 40 turnovers, 17 games, 3 turnover average. I hope not. No, what Mike is saying is 40 forced turnovers in 17 games. Listen, if they could force 3 turnovers a game, dude, they would be that. I mean, I feel like 40 turnovers is a lot. Has that ever happened?
I just want to say that, that's a lot more than 4. I think that's 51. I'm not a mathematician, but I believe that 3 turnovers a game in 17 games is 51. So it's not quite.
You're right, and I didn't even pick up on that. Yeah,
it's like 2 and some.
I mean, it's still like it's like 2.2 or something like that. Yeah,
right. So I don't think that's asking a lot. And now, by the way, I should have said, like, forced fumbles and turnovers, because you don't always recover the fumbles. But if you force the ball out and then the team gets back on it, I'm counting that. Like, I want to see forced fumbles. I want to see some interceptions. I want to see fumble recoveries and all that included in there. So that's really what I meant. Yeah. I should have been more specific. I apologize about that.
Shout outs to Jamar. He says D Winter's first linebacker with an interception. That brings me to another question that I have for you. Which 49ers rookie is going to make the biggest impact, not only tomorrow, but for the season for the 49ers?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to put some thought into this one.
Bro, I'm just gonna say Jake Moody right off rip, because I'm gonna do it.
Shout out
Positive
to
or
the kicker,
negative,
right?
he is going to make an impact as the place kicker for the 49ers.
Can I say that? Can I take your answer and go with you
Oh
that
yeah, do it.
Jake
Hell
Moody
yeah.
is going to lead the
Hell yeah.
49ers in points, right? Like that's
Yeah.
obvious, right? The kickers always
Now,
lead the team
do you
in
think
points.
that he's going to? Do you think the drop off from Robbie Gould to him is going to be egregious, or do you think it's something that the 49ers will be able to work around? Because I feel like there is going to be a little bit of not necessarily struggles, but now that Robbie Gould is in the hindsight, right? People are just going to remember the 68 of 68 in the playoffs for his career. They're not going to remember the random missed extra point in week 4 of a game or whatever when the 49ers are up by like 13.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the drop off is going to be egregious, or do you think that it's something that the 49ers will be okay with given Moody's draft position?
It's going to be a little bit of both, right? So Jake Moody is going to do something that Robbie Gould never did. He's going to miss kicks from inside the 35, inside the 40, right? That is not something that Robbie Gould did. However, he's going to make a 60-yarder this year. And that is also something that Robbie Gould never did here, right? So I want to be very clear. He's a rookie. There's going to be ebbs and flows.
Does that mean that we can put to bed those punting on 4th down from our 38-yard line when we're driving, or the opponent's 38-yard line?
Those days are done. We're going to be scoring a lot of points. The defense is really, really good. And so we're going to not hesitate to attempt those things. Because even if we miss, they're getting the ball at the 50, at the 40, whatever. I get what you're saying, though. But yeah, so I think that those days are long gone. The Niners are going to be attempting those kind of kicks. And I think he's going to pay some dividends that way as well. I do have an answer for you for the 49ers rookie, though, that is going to pay the biggest dividends this season. New Jersey's own Jair Brown, the safety. I think he is in there, and I think that by the time the season is over, he is going to be a starter. Now, does that mean that Gibson gets out of there or whatever? I don't know. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Is it Hufanga? I hope not, because I really like the trajectory of Hufanga. He's just got to continue to ascend. But Jair Brown, he's the future of that safety position for the 49ers. A sure tackler. He doesn't. The only thing that worries me about a combination of him and Hufanga is the lack of speed back
of a center. Well, lack of a center field. Like, I feel like Brown and Hufanga are very similar in the way that they play the game. So that it's almost like, okay, and I know on the 49ers defense, they kind of view, and Kyle has said this before, that they view their safeties as interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
But with the lack of a center field, kind of that traditional free safety, I can go sideline to sideline, and if we're doing single high, I got the deep area covered. That's the only thing that kind of worries me.
Right.
Outside of Jake Moody, man, you know what I got to do, man. You already know. I'm on the hype train already. I will just tell you right now. I watched JJ McCarthy have another fantastic game for Michigan today. To me, after Caleb Williams, he's rising up my boards. I'm more impressed with him than I am with Drake May. That being said, Ronnie Bell, man, I feel like Ronnie Bell has the potential, not only in the return game, which he might not even, factor into, given that Ray McCloud has been cleared to play. Ray McCloud will probably handle the return duties, depending. Now, it's funny, right? They said 8 weeks for Ray McCloud. Right. It definitely was not that long. I need to see, when they're going like it's NFL Sunday on, I don't know, the game I think is on Fox tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So Fox NFL Sunday, they're doing their whole pregame thing or whatever. Let's peek into the games. I want to see if I can see Ray McCloud. Does he have a cast on his wrist?
Right.
Does he have some type of if he does, then he is not going to be returning. It's too dangerous for him to try to, field the ball or whatever. If that's the case, Ronnie Bell will definitely be the return man. But I think even as a receiver, Ronnie Bell to me has the potential with his physicality and his ability. He's got to shore up his ball security. But I think that he can surpass somebody like a Jawan Jennings to be a more reliable on the field target.
Receiver 3. I like it. I was going to ask you, do you think he overtakes him at some point during the season?
I do. I think that, again, no hate to Jawan. I think that he is improved immensely from when he came out from Tennessee. And I was like, maybe we turn this dude into a tight end because his feet are slower than molasses going uphill on a hot day. He's actually become a relatively effective possession receiver for the
Oh
49ers.
God,
I just think that
he's Kendrick Bourne all over again. I'm sorry,
right,
and that's not a knock because
not a
Kendrick Bourne
knock.
had a very
He
defined role.
fits a certain mold. I just feel like Ronnie Bell has there's some type of juice to him. And there's a reason why he was one of the Big Ten leaders in receiving yards. And he led Michigan in receiving yards for the past 2 seasons. I feel like he has that potential. And I'm not sure exactly what didn't translate for scouts. Was it bad combine times? Was it a poor pro day? Was it something they saw on tape? But I can tell you, aside from the ball security, which definitely needs to be cleaned up, and it's something you can teach. Shout out to Tiki Barber. He has it. You know what I mean? There's like an it factor to him. He has some type of electricity to him when he touches the ball. I mean, he showed out the entire preseason. So yeah, I definitely think he has that potential. He just needs to keep working hard and really, again, limit the mental mistakes. If he can do that, he definitely has the ability to be really good.
I like your answer a whole lot. I thought about saying him. I really did. But I know how hard Kyle Shanahan is on his wide receivers. He loves to put those guys in the doghouse. He loves to make those guys like really stress and sweat it out and see how they overcome the internal pressure, right? Like us as fans, we didn't see it a lot, right? We saw Brandon Ayuk's last 5 games in his rookie season. We were like, oh, he's going to be like wide receiver 1 in year 2. Right. Like I was saying it on all the shows and everything. Like, look at his last 5 games. Look how he finished. He's going to go crazy. Right. And then the next thing you know, they're like, oh, he's in the doghouse. Kyle doesn't like him. He's getting 3 targets a game, 4 targets a game. I'm like, wait, what the hell just happened? Right. Kyle likes to put this pressure, like this internal pressure on wide receivers in particular. I don't know if it's because it's the position that he played, so he has high expectations for it or what, but he likes to put the pressure on these guys. If Ronnie Bell can avoid the Kyle Shanahan doghouse, if he can avoid that, watch out, man.
Which he'll be not many rookies have been able to avoid, to be fair.
No. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So I like it.
Now, speaking of avoiding the doghouse, right? The 49ers tend to redshirt a lot of guys. What are your expectations for Drake Jackson this year? Because he's a guy that, I mean, they brought in Cleveland Farrell, veteran, whatever, right? But again, in terms of pop on the screen, athleticism, that kind of like electricity factor, I feel like Drake Jackson could be a player. He just needs to get more consistent, particularly with his run fits. What do you expect out of Drake Jackson year 2?
I expect a lot from Drake Jackson, but that doesn't mean that's what the 49ers expect from him. I expect him to continue to lead the team in batted passes at the line of scrimmage. When he knows that he can't get there, he looks at the quarterback's eyes, and if they're looking close to him, he is the first guy with his hands up, and he just bats passes down nonstop. I love that about him. Through 5 games, he had 3 sacks, and then he kind of just disappeared. It was like, where did he go? And it wasn't even that he was out there and not doing anything. He was inactive on certain games down the stretch. They tried to blame it on fatigue, and he's not used to playing this, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 weeks, right? Like it's just, that's not how they do it in college. And so they put all these built-in excuses as to why they couldn't utilize him. He's ready. And so my personal expectations might be higher for him than what the 49ers expectations are. Chris Kocurek, we always peg him as this defensive lineman whisperer, right? Like then whisper to this kid. He was the first pick of that draft. Like make us look good here, Kocurek. Like do something with this kid. He's got the talent. A lot of people felt like he just needed more time. People felt like he needed more opportunities. I say make him be the guy that he's the one getting the one-on-ones. Put him out there with Bosa, with Armstead, with Hargrave, and let him go out there and cook. So I have high expectations for him. I would like to see him get 6.5 plus sacks this season. I'd say, almost a dozen batted passes, a couple pressures. And as far as him in the run game, that is his biggest weakness. I always felt that that's why they kind of pulled him off the field, him and even Womack, right? I felt like Womack was always around the ball, and that's why he didn't make it out there, is because he was a liability in the run game. I think that Drake Jackson can step it up in year 2. I think that this kid has a good work ethic, and he's hungry. So I do have high expectations for him.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest worry is, again, that run fit, because
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing, and we've said it before, right? If you're an interior defensive lineman and your run defense isn't the best, you're kind of filling a gap, right? You're weak against the inside run. But other than that, you can kind of be hidden. Drake Jackson, to me, is a guy, if you're on the edge and you don't set that edge, that can be a big problem. You can break big time runs. So I'm hoping, and it's weird because he has such phenomenal athleticism. I mean,
Yes.
his like P Spark score was like through the roof. He's super athletic. It seems to be more a technique based thing, and I don't know if that was something at USC that they just weren't teaching as well. But I think year 2 with Coach K, because he's been a guy that has maximized people like Kerry Hyder, who's maximized people like Samson Ebukam, like a lot of these other guys, and some guys who aren't even here. I mean, Kerry Hyder's back with the team, but remember, he got a pretty big money deal from the Seattle Seahawks after that season with Coach K, because he was able to maximize it out. Year 2, I think the sky is the limit for Drake Jackson. I want to address this real quick. Grades 49. What do I think of Ewers? I think he has phenomenal Quinn Ewers from Texas, the quarterback.
That's the Longhorns quarterback, right?
Yeah. I think that he has immense talent. I think that he is very naturally gifted, but that those natural gifts also make him kind of lazy. He can get lazy stepping into throws. When he's under pressure, he will leave throws short. He will, his mechanics will break down because he tries to rely too much on the natural talent of his arm. So that's kind of what I think of him. There was another question here.
I mean, I know, granted, the year just started, but his efficiency is also improved, right? He went from a 58% completion guy. He's up to 63 already. So that's got to be encouraging. And then you go out there and you just knock off Alabama. So, I mean, that's got to be
by double digits, by the way, too. That was a 10-point win for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, people have to be excited about that guy.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about this, Mike. A lot of it has been made. Patrick Peterson was on a podcast, and he said that the 49ers offense has some tells. Now, our man Al Felipe is in here saying Patrick Peterson played the 49ers 9 times in his career, 0 interceptions. But apparently, according to that podcast, he's under the impression that he's getting a pick this Sunday.
Yeah.
What do you think of this? Is this bulletin board material? Is this something that Brock Purdy and the offense are going to use to kind of stick it to Patrick Peterson? Because I got to be honest with you, I was not impressed with how Patrick Peterson played with Minnesota. So I don't know what – he's not like the first 5 years in Arizona Patrick Peterson. He's not LSU Patrick Peterson. He's late stage of his career Patrick Peterson, right? He's like it almost reminds me of those cornerbacks who they don't have the physical capability anymore, but their brain is still telling them that they do. And this is like the transition year where he's like, I still got it, but his body, I mean, and really it's like transition year like 3 for him, but apparently he still hasn't caught up. What do you make of this whole thing with Patrick Peterson? What tells are you looking for? And why do I think that it's still the Trent Williams moves his foot back on passing plays or taps or whatever the case may be?
I think the tells that he has are what everyone sees, right? If you can play between the hashes well, you have a shot at slowing down the 49ers, but you got to be a sure tackler. I think that's the biggest tell that the 49ers have. And that's with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's with Brock Purdy. That was with Nick Mullins. That was with C.J. Beathard. Kyle Shanahan. Maybe it's by design. Maybe it's by default because the quarterbacks just don't excel a lot down the field or out, outside the numbers. But for whatever the reason is, that is how this offense has been running for the last 5 seasons. If that's your tell, no one's been able to slow it down. No one's been able to do anything. In the rain, though, maybe a ball comes off of someone's hands and Patrick Peterson is there to do it. When you started talking about him, I was going to ask you, has he been moved to safety yet? Like, that's where corners go to, like...
Well, here's the thing, though, especially with the super physically gifted ones, right? Say it, that's where corners go to die. Richard Sherman never made that transition. But I specifically remember, post Raiders Charles Woodson, when he was unable to be a corner for the Green Bay Packers, They transitioned him to safety, and that extended his career by another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, he had a whole second career there.
Absolutely. And listen, again, as a Michigan fan, Charles Woodson's one of my favorite players of all time. Like, I mean, it just even somebody like Desmond Howard, who struck the Heisman pose against Ohio State. I'm not a fan of the Buckeyes, but anyway, that not being said, that notwithstanding, Patrick Peterson, I think, with his football acumen, with the years that he's racked up, with the ability that he has to diagnose a play, right? I don't think any of that's changed. I think some of it is a little less zip in, a little less pep in your step. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that being able to be that free safety, that like what I talked about between Jair Brown and Talanoa Hufanga, I think that even a diminished Patrick Peterson is probably on par with those two athletically to this day, because he started at a much higher level. Absolutely. Now he's just kind of come down to earth a little bit. But being on that island as a cornerback is a much bigger ask than, hey, a free safety, we're running cover 2, cover 1, whatever. You're responsible for one half of the, you're responsible for a deep third or whatever the case may be, right? I think that he would be able to make that transition. It's interesting that nobody has told him that. If they have, that he's unwilling to try that, because I feel like that could make him more valuable in his position.
And I don't want to diminish Patrick Peterson, right? He's had a long, beautiful. He's starting his 13th career year in the NFL, right? So I don't want to diminish what he did, and I do like him when he's not playing the Niners, just like his story, and he's always been a stand-up guy. I don't think he's been a dirty player or anything like that. So I've never had a reason to cheer against him other than when he was playing against the 49ers, right? But you just haven't done anything in the last 3 seasons to make me say, oh yeah, you're still that guy. So like I don't know where the confidence comes from. I don't know what he's expecting to go out there and do. I will say this, looking at his numbers last year with the Vikings, he did have 5 picks, which was the highest that he's had since 2012. He did have 5 picks, but so like it's just I don't know. I don't know. It was to the point where he saw more targets in that year than he's seen in a long time. Now he might be hanging his hat on. I also had 15 passes defense last year, but that also comes with the territory when you're being targeted 70 times a year. You know what I'm saying? So it's give and take. But the Niners don't target defenders; they target space. So he's going to have to be in the right place at the right time to go out there and actually earn his pick. I have a player that I want to ask you about, though. You asked me about Patrick Peterson. Did you see Quan Alexander's comments about the Niners?
Yeah, I did, and that's surprising. Now, just real quick on Patrick Peterson, he did sign a 2-year, $14 million contract. So it obviously Pittsburgh doesn't think he's completely washed, but he's got to be careful with that. Now, why don't you remind everybody what Quan Alexander said? Because coming from him, I'm like pretty surprised that he went this route.
Yeah, so basically it was like, how do you stop all the weapons over there on the 49er side, the offensive side of the ball? And he was like, you got to hit them and make them not get up. And it was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, these were your teammates. Like, what are you saying? Like that was I know the physical brand of football that Alexander plays with, and I have an appreciation for it because he instilled that in the guys like Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, right? Like
Dre Greenlaw, yeah.
Right. That resonated in the linebacking room for the 49ers for his short time here. That said, I don't expect someone who played with these guys to say something like hit them and make them not get up. I don't think he's a dirty player. I don't think he's going to be trying to injure someone. I do think that his mindset is, I'm bringing the wood. We've seen him make hits and get up and go.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to, for the actual quote here, the actual quote was hit him and make him not move afterwards.
That's what it was. I said not get up, but not move afterwards.
Even worse. Like hit him and like make him think of like, hey, you want to hit him and make him think about the next play, but to say hit him and make them not move afterwards is a bridge too far. And yeah, to me, it's the sign of a guy who, again, I appreciated Quan Alexander for the time that he was here, but let's not pretend like he didn't infuriate us sometimes with some of those roughing, like unnecessary roughness, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, stuff like that.
The missed tackles. I mean, come
Right.
on, man. Like this, he was a liability out there at times as well.
Rather than tackle, and it seems like he's carrying that mentality forward. I think it's very, very interesting that Robert Saleh gave him a chance after he left the 49ers, right? All right, we're going to bring you in. We're going to do our thing, right? Because, like, I just love your energy, this and this and that. But that didn't last very long, and now he's on another team.
Yep, it was bye-bye very quickly.
Exactly.
I wish George Kittle was healthy for this game. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to miss time. He's listed as questionable or probable or whatever the designations are. I don't want to kill you guys with the specifics, right? But I would love to see Alexander versus Debo or Alexander versus Kittle. Let one of these physical guys, or just give the ball to TDP and let him run through this guy. Like that's what I want to see him get ready to lay the wood on somebody, and then he ends up on his back and they step over him for another couple of yards. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I want to see now. You don't say something like that. Like people forget just how good and physical the 49ers were last year. It's one thing to win a bunch of games. It's one thing to go on that 8-game win streak or however long that win streak. What was it? We were whatever in 4 and we finished with 4. So, I mean, we had a nice long streak there, right? Forget the streak for a second. Not a single team won a game after they played the 49ers, including the fucking Eagles in the NFC Championship game. Including the Eagles. Note, that's how physical of a brand of football we play on both sides of the ball. And you're going to say that to us heading into week 1 when we're as healthy as we're going to be all year? Are you fucking crazy?
You know what I think is going to happen, honestly, is that this is going to be posted for the people that played with him, right? And I think there's going to be a second level block from Trent Williams on Quan Alexander with Christian McCaffrey. And Trent Williams is going to launch that motherfucker on his ass because we've seen it before. And listen, if no matter how hard Quan Alexander thinks that he is, Trent Williams is that motherfucker. That dude tattooed Silverback on his back for a reason. Yeah. That dude is a fucking beast.
Mm-hmm.
A beast. Yeah. And you want to talk that shit, you better come correct.
That's right.
You better come correct, because I can guarantee you that a lot of those 49ers, particularly the extra teammates, but like not like Trent Williams needs extra motivation, right? They'll just be like, hey, Trent, go get that motherfucker. And like he'll do it.
Right.
I've never seen a dude that's more like ride or die for his teammates than Trent Williams.
Look at
Quan Alexander asked for the physicality. He's going to get it.
Here it comes. And he's probably not even going to be a starter out there. He's writing a check that the rest of the team is going to have to cash.
Rotational guy.
Yeah, like that sucks. Like Quan Alexander is going to do this to you guys. He's going to be the reason that you guys suffer tomorrow. Like this is going to be okay. So Chris, right there, that's it right there. You don't know the Steelers defense then. Our division games are nothing but smash mouth. Let me tell you something, Chris. Don't confuse a bunch of offenses that suck and are inconsistent and low-scoring games with smash mouth football. There's a big, big difference. The Niners play a physical-ass game, and we make it look finesse. That's how good the Niners are. I'm going to say that again. The Niners play a physical brand of football on both sides of the ball and make it look finesse because we actually put up points. Because we went out there and we put up over 30 points a game with Mr. Irrelevant as our quarterback. You haven't been watching 49ers football, if that's what you think. There are clips of Fred Warner flying around, Dre Greenlaw suplexing people. That's what the defense brings to the side, that their side of the ball.
I'll do you one better. Go back to the 2019 49ers season opener and watch Kyle Juszczyk dribble Minkah Fitzpatrick like a fucking basketball.
Come on, bro.
Tell me that the 49ers don't play physical.
That hurt me so much because Minka's from Jersey. It hurt me so. I've never cheered and oohed at the same time so much in my life, because don't do that to my Jersey people, but do that because you're a Niners, right? Like that fucked with my feelings, bro. It fucked with my feelings. Like don't. The Niners aren't the team that you want to say, let's get physical with. We are not that team.
Listen, Kyle Juszczyk doesn't even get that much run, but the strength that he showed just in that, just like, I mean, it was like an adult shoving a child to the ground.
It was bad. And then if you watch the play take place, right, he only got like 3 yards after that, right, before he got tackled. But Minka was still on his backside. He sat up looking around like, what the fuck just happened? Like, where am I? Like, no, he man slammed him down on the ground. I've never seen a stiff arm
looks like
so
you're breaking
hard.
up a little bit, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Boy, this whole, you froze up on us, Mike. Hopefully we can get Mike back.
You got me?
Wait. Almost.
Can you hear me? Hello?
You're still breaking up on us. We're getting close to the end anyway, guys. Hopefully Mike can make it back. His face is stuck in a very interesting position. So let's see if he can get us back here. All right, looks like Mike lost internet. We are going to go just with me until Mike comes back. Is he back? Nope, not yet. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. I don't know what happened there. We are continuing to move along. We'll add Mike Andrews. Hopefully he can come back at some point. Looks like his mic is up. Everything else is up. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. StreamYard freaked out for a second. Are we back? Let me know in the chat if we're back.
Can you hear me? Matt, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. All right, I'm coming back.
I don't know what happened there, to be honest.
I actually think that was StreamYard and not us.
I think that might have been StreamYard. Yeah. Listen, dude, you were cooking too hot for StreamYard.
I'm sorry, guys. All right, I got the background back up.
No worries.
I went and connected to the Ethernet. That's why I had to step away for a second. I apologize about that. I knocked shit over my green screen and everything. But what I wanted to say was I've never seen a guy stiff arm before, and his feet are higher than his head during the stiff arm. I've never seen that before. I've seen guys fall. They fall parallel to the ground, and then they land and things like that. I've seen guys get shoved out of the way, but their head stayed the highest point of their body. His ankles and toes were higher than his shoulders and head. I've never seen that before from a fucking fullback. Don't talk to us about physicality. Sorry.
Exactly.
We lost the setup, the layout. I'm sorry. The layout.
Let me throw that back up there.
There we go.
There we go.
We're back. See, listen, we're the Niners are so physical that we fuck streams up when we turn it up. Like, don't do that.
Exactly.
Don't do that.
All right.
Bro.
Mike, what are the keys to victory? And I'm gonna leave this with you, dude. I gotta fucking pee. So I'm gonna let you work, bro. I'm asking you this.
Solo
and then
layout. I got you, bro. I got you. Solo layout.
What are the keys to victory for the Pittsburgh or for the 49ers against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
All right. So the keys to victory are going to be he left it on split screen though. It's all good. There we go. Solo layout. There we go. Guys, the keys to victory for the 49ers versus Steelers. All right. On the offensive side of the ball, efficiency. Don't hold the ball too long. Respect that Steelers pass rush. Let me not come in here and just completely disrespect this team because Quan Alexander wrote a check that the rest of the team is going to have to cash, right? A respectful defensive line. A really good defensive line, in my personal opinion. Again, 2 players, 25 sacks, not including TJ Watt, who had a down year due to injuries and, things like that. TJ Watt is back. And I caught a lot of flack for this, so I know there's a couple Steeler fans that are out there right now watching. Let me just be very clear. I got into a very, very heated debate with people in my group chat on the Nothing But Niners channel, talking about how I thought that Nick Bosa wasn't the best pass rusher in the NFL, and in fact, it was TJ Watt when healthy. Those guys hated me saying that. And that was not because of a week 1 matchup. That was during the contract negotiation talks and things like that. I said that I thought TJ Watt was a better player than Nick Bosa. I got all kinds of hell for that. With that being said, I want you guys to understand what I'm saying. I fully respect that Steelers defensive line. I talked to you guys earlier about Minkah Fitzpatrick and how I was torn watching Juice slam him to the ground. That's still Jersey out there. Jersey don't play, baby. So Minkah Fitzpatrick is going to be respected when you hear me talk about him. Patrick Peterson, you get a little bit of respect, but we all know that you're in the twilight years right now, man. A couple bad plays and they're taking you out the pasture, buddy. I'm sorry, not sorry. All right. The 49ers need to be very efficient on offense, but it's going to start up front. I know that's corny. I know that's cliche. I know it's low-hanging fruit, but the trenches are where we are going to have to focus. If the 49ers offensive line falters in any way, and I don't mean in the passing game, I can't emphasize this enough. I expect a lot of quick throws, a lot of short passes in this game. We might have 2 or 3 plays dialed up down the field, but that's it. Don't expect a lot of deep passes, guys, because this is Brock Purdy's first full game in there. There is no pitch count during a game. You're out there and you're out there. I don't expect him to try to overwork his arm. We're expecting a couple of minutes of rain throughout the game. It's all about the run game. The Niners have to open up holes for these running backs, and the running backs have to be decisive. But if the offensive line does not hold up in the run game, the Niners are going to be in for a very, very long day. That's my first key to victory there. As far as the wide receivers go, you guys have to hold on to the ball when it gets to you. There's going to be times where it's slick and it's wet. It's going to be times where it's raining. Catch the ball first. Do not be afraid of contact. This Steelers defense is going to want to hit you. They know what Patrick Peterson said. They know what Quan Alexander said, and they're going to have to go out there and have to back that up for their teammates, right? And that's Steelers brand of football. We know what the nickname, the Steel Curtain and all that, right? The Steelers pride themselves on tough defense, hard running, and making the games smash mouth, like my man, what was his name? Christopher, I think his name was, said. So we are going to have to be the more physical team there. Starts up front, starts with, then it goes to the run game, and then it goes to the wide receivers not being afraid to go across the middle. That is going to be the game plan on the offensive side of the ball. As far as the 49ers defense, what you're going to have to look for here is controlling Najee Harris. He is going to get his carries. Let me say that again. He is absolutely going to get his carries. There's nothing you can do about it. That is the Steelers brand of football. However, there's another guy named Warden. I think that's his last name. Is it Warden? Right? That's their backup running back for this year. He is going to be a guy that I have a lot of respect for. Let me just be very, very clear. I'm in a couple of keeper leagues this year, and he was one of my guys that I got later in the draft.
Jalen Warren.
Warren, not Warden. I said Warden. You know why I said Warden? Oh, this is funny. My wife's mom's maiden name is Warden. So every time I saw his name, I thought Warren.
Also, by the way, Jimbo, I almost did. So fucking relax, my guy. I'm beers deep, brother.
It's funny because normally there's 3 of us on here, so one of us will just type it in the private chat, and then the other 2 just cover for him, right? But it was one-on-one thing. But their run game is going to be good, especially because of the weather that's pending. They're going to also try to run the ball, establish the run early. The Niners have to be stout. I expect these defensive tackles to be tested. Javon Kinlaw, I know you're not going to get talked about a lot. This is going to be a pivotal game. When they call your number to come in there and spell a guy, yeah, there it is, Jalen Warren, right? When they call your number to come in and spell a guy like Hargrave or not Bosa, Armstead, you have to be stout. We saw what happened when you got double teamed all preseason. You literally got
pushed off the ball for sure.
Yeah, like, and I'm not talking like, oh, you were stonewalled. Stonewalled means you hit a wall and you didn't go anywhere. No, it was you were trying to go forward and they pushed your ass backwards. You cannot allow that to happen. You cannot allow that to happen. If Kinlaw has a good game, the Niners get out of here with the Steelers averaging 2.8 yards a carry. That is the key to victory on the offensive side, on the defensive side of the ball for the 49ers. It's all about the run game. Not worried about the secondary.
Shout out to you, Christopher Hockenberry. I love it when opposing fans come in here and are respectful and want to carry on banter. That makes the show more fun. So good luck to you as well. It definitely is going to be a good game. There's a reason why Fox is putting it on as the early game across the nation predominantly. It's going to be a fun game for sure. Now, I kind of missed what you were talking about more so. I guess you were talking about the run game for offense. I wanted to jump into my keys of the game. I think that it has to be the name of the game has to be efficiency. Whether that's getting to the line on time, whether that's avoiding false start penalties, whether that is getting the ball out quickly on passing downs, avoiding holding penalties, because a lot of times with weather, and according to, I don't know how accurate this is, but, I looked up the weather on Google or whatever for Pittsburgh tomorrow, and the rain is actually supposed to stop prior to the 1 p.m. kickoff time. So the field might just be, if they take care of the field, it might not be that bad. It's going to be cloudy, but we're definitely not going to see a Chicago repeat, right? Okay. That lends itself well to the 49ers, but they have to be mindful of not making self errors, right? Don't self kill, no holding penalties, do your job, hit your fits. A lot of old guys in new situations on the offensive line, how they gel, how the offensive game plan is going to work is really going to be the key. And I think that Brock Purdy has to play mistake-free football, right? People talk about, he threw X amount of picks in practice. He didn't look like he was doing this or this or that. I would not be surprised with if there is a lack of rain for the 49ers to take a play action shot really early in the game just to make a statement, and Purdy has to come out and really be efficient in that regard. So if he can do that, I think that bodes well for the 49ers offense in terms of keys to victory. So just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Go out there, play the way that you're capable of, and I think that the offense is going to be able to take care of itself. Like we talked about Brock Purdy when he came in and started for the 49ers, they averaged something like 34 or 35 points a game. Mike talked about that earlier. It's much more of the what can we continue it going on? And if we can, then they're going to be really good. Kurt Sampson, I'm much more diplomatic on a 2-person show. I think that I don't know. I don't try to be anything other than I am. I think that it's just a different vibe when I have to try to move the conversation along rather than just while Zach is doing it, then I'm pulling up all my stuff that I want to say. And, I don't purposefully try, and I never try to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. But I don't like the shows where people just oh yeah, I completely agree with you. And, oh yeah, that's a great point, friend. I always try to, there are times where I argue from the devil's advocate position on purpose to try to, what I want to do is if Mike says something and I argue it from the devil's advocate position, I want him to be able to rebut me in a way that people who watch the show know, when Mike makes a point, he knows exactly what he's talking about. When Zach makes a point, he knows exactly what he's talking about. And if I have to take shade to get that accomplished, I'll do it, dude. It's not a problem.
It's give and take on shows, right? And it's also a very big difference between hosting, which is what Zach normally does here, or what I do on Nothing But Niners, versus being able to just reply to what's being said and answer questions. One of the main reasons why I come on this channel so much is because I get to put the hosting gig aside and I just get the flow with what's happening in the show. And it is so different. The way you think, literally the way you think is changed if you're not the one having to present the topics, control the flow and things like that. It's just very different. So I completely get it, Matt. 100%.
No, for sure. And it is a different pair of pants to put on when you're hosting the show, right? Again, Zach, and I give all credit in the world to Zach and I've been on Nothing But Niners and to Mike as well. Those guys are more natural hosts, I think, than I am. I'm trying to fill space to carry a conversation. I'm much more a person who likes to be in the flow of a conversation without necessarily directing the conversation. I like to see where it goes. I feel like I'm well equipped to talk about a wide range of subjects. I don't always think I'm right, but what I want to do is make people think about what they're saying and be able to defend their position. So if I have to take again, like I say, the devil's advocate position and the opposition type thing, that's something that I'm going to do. And by the way, no, I don't think you're taking any shots, and I know it's just an observation. I think it's a good thing to point out, though. I think that's pretty fun to kind of see.
Sure.
Defensively, and Christopher Hockenberry says, not trying to be biased, but we know physical gameplay. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, physical gameplay, but also how many quarterbacks have the Browns had in the last whatever, right? How many times? How the Bungles, right? Traditionally, before Joe Burrow, and since Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and maybe even the Browns being better, how many division titles have you won? So it's a different day and age. Different day and age in the AFC North. No offense. Jimbo says best show I've seen in a while. Thank you, Jimbo. Appreciate you very much, very much, very much. In terms of defensively, man, we gotta. Najee Harris cannot run all over us. The 49ers have been very good about being one of the top-ranked run defenses in the NFL. It was a point of contention early in the year last year. I can't remember who broke the streak, but it was like a long streak of 49ers not giving up 100-yard rushers. And that was something that we hung our hat on. I can't remember who actually broke the streak. I for the life of me, I can't remember, right? But, we have games where it's like, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. are going to talk shit against 49ers. Well, guess what? They're going to combine for like 48 yards. Every running back that you can think of, a Dalvin Cook, whoever the case may be, right? Is not running all over us. We'll allow wide receivers. Devontae Adams went off on us last year. That's by design. Guess who didn't get 100 yards? I don't think Josh Jacobs did. He might have, but
no, it was 60 something. I just
right.
pulled that game up because that was a high scoring game, and I was like, maybe it was them.
And we'll let wide receivers cook. But one thing the 49ers pride themselves on is not allowing 100-yard rushers. And
dude, I'm looking at the end of the regular season. 23 yards from Corey Clement. That was their leading rusher for the Cardinals. Like, it was 69 yards for Josh Jacobs. Okay. There were two stats going around. 100 yards versus the 49ers. Well, that's what I was going to say. It was 100 yards versus the 49ers, and then it was 100-yard rushers versus the 49ers. Isaiah Pacheco only had 43 yards.
43 yards, yeah.
So
we let Juju Smith-Schuster cook, which apparently his knees are cooked. But
that sucks. Washington, 58 yards for their leading rusher. I do know that the Atlanta Falcons ran for 150 yards on the Niners, but that was with Mariota and two other people having like 50 yards. I do know that, but I don't think it was I don't know if there was a 100-yard rusher. Maybe the same.
While you're looking that up, Christopher Hockenberry, we got to talk, brother. The Pittsburgh Steelers are not winning that fucking division this year. You are wild if you think that. To me, top to bottom, Cincinnati's the best team in that division, followed closely by the Ravens. It's arguable whether you guys are probably if I'm being honest with you, can I be honest with you? You guys are the worst team in the division.
Oh shit. Austin Eckler, I'm going to try to change the subject smoothly here and not changing it because Matt's going to get right back to it. But Austin Eckler, one of the best running backs in the NFL, finished with 24 rushing yards against the 49ers. Yeah. Like, dude, I'm really searching to find a 100-yard rusher. Maybe the Broncos game. Maybe it was the Broncos game.
We talked about this, Mike. You and I talked about this with Zach last week. Massage Watson is going to play a lot better this year than he did last year. Kenny Pickett is the worst quarterback in that division. And it's not close. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Deshaun Watson, miles ahead of Kenny Pickett. Sorry, dude. It's a good division. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers do anything better than literally any of the other. You might have the wide receiver advantage on Baltimore, but like literally almost any other position group is worse on the Steelers. And I hate to say that. Now, Pittsburgh is good enough to float around 500, but I mean, you're talking about third or fourth in that division. And that, again, there's no shade because we're playing you tomorrow. I'm being completely honest with my assessment of what it like. If I'm a Rams fan, I can't say, oh yeah, we're winning the division. Like, no, you're not. You're fighting with the Cardinals for the first pick in the draft. Like, that's what you guys are doing. You know what I mean? Pittsburgh is a team that is gonna hover around 500, but you guys are not better than Cincinnati or Baltimore, and it's debatable whether you're better than the Browns.
The 49ers didn't allow a 100-yard rusher.
There you go. So that's
it was teams. So that's what it was. Remember I said I knew the Falcons did it? I remember whatever the streak was, the Falcons broke it. There was no team.
It was Mariota and Algier, right? That and Cordero Patterson. Yeah.
3 guys for the Falcons had 48 plus yards, and that equated to the 150 yards. Caleb Huntley was their leading rusher with 59 yards.
Yep. Now, I do think that you guys can pass Baltimore if Lamar gets hurt. I think that Lamar drives that team. So, Kurt Sampson says, do you think it's funny that Burrow got 219.01 guaranteed, Watson got 219? I think it's hilarious.
They do that on purpose. We remember that happening with Trent Williams and Bakhtiari, right? Like, and Bakhtiari even tweeted out, "You just had to beat me, didn't you?" Like, it was that $100,000. Like, they do that shit on purpose.
And by the way, the fact, and this is a good point from Jimbo, Steelers shouldn't be in it, but Tomlin teams play hard-nosed football. The fact that the Steelers win as many games with as little talent as they had, particularly last year, is a reflection on Mike Tomlin. And I think that at times he can be a little too player-friendly. See the Le'Veon Bell and the Antonio Brown shit. Remember when Antonio Brown shot the video inside the Steelers locker room during the speech?
To be fair, well, never mind. Let me not cut you off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. And you can defend it. I'm just saying that, like, there are times where it's like there are a lot of teams that would not put up with that stuff, and Mike Tomlin will let stuff go. But the fact of the matter is that Mike Tomlin's teams play hard for him. And that's the best sign of a good coach, is if your team will play hard for you. It's why the Detroit Lions have had the glow up that they've had, is because that team will run through. Shit, dude, I've heard Dan Campbell. I want to run through a wall for that guy. Like, that dude motivates me, right? And Dan Campbell, former tight end in the NFL, he's turned it into a successful coaching career. But there are those guys that just, like, motivate you to no end. And Mike Tomlin is one of those guys. So shout outs to him. He's done a great job there. And I think that they overplay their talent sometimes because of the talent of Mike Tomlin as far as being a head coach. Now, he hasn't won a Super Bowl, and I think that he largely won that on the back of Bill Cowher's team. And
he hasn't won a playoff game.
He hasn't had a losing season in his NFL career. So,
my only defense to what you said, one, he might not have known that Brown was live because it was during the speech.
But nothing happened after the fact, is what I'm saying.
Publicly, that's what I was going to say. Publicly, we don't know
what happened behind the scene.
Right. And so Brown was a head case for a while.
Speaking of AB, did you see the thing of, like, where some dude randomly ended up with Antonio Brown's pants and his cell phone?
Wow. No, I didn't. But I mean,
I think
AB
Antonio Brown ripped his pants and threw him off in the air, but his phone was in there, and some person got that and his phone.
Yeah, I believe it. I mean, he's also the same guy that tweeted out his bank account information. Yeah. Like, there were people paying their bills out of Antonio Brown's account, and then they had to freeze it for the next year and a half. Like, he didn't change accounts. It was a Bank of America account. He didn't change accounts, but they put a freeze on it for a year and a half to the hope that people, like, finally deleted the information. Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's just not wrapped too tight. Sorry, I didn't want to turn that into a
It's like that line. It reminds me of Tim Robbins' line in Top Gun, right? It's like when Vontae's Burfict hit him, that line in Top Gun is that MiG really screwed him up. Like, that hit really screwed him up, dude.
Yeah. It's bad.
So, but yeah, the 49ers have to prevent Najee Harris from going off. Now that I'm getting back to the keys to the victory or whatever, they have to prevent him from establishing tempo for them, because if Najee Brown is getting chunk yardage, that makes Kenny Pickett's job easier. And then you're going to start to see the Deontay Johnson and the George Pickens start to really pick apart the 49ers defense in the area where I think that they're the weakest, which is in the cornerback position. That could turn ugly. So defensively, that's key for me. And then lastly, one thing we always want the 49ers to do, which they haven't necessarily been able to do because of the lacking of the return game is you got to win the field position battle. That's going to be something, right? I was not impressed with Mish Wisnowski in the preseason. I didn't think that he punted the ball very well. And then traditionally, the 49ers have not had good returners in the last few years. The last 49ers returner that I thought was worth a damn was Ted Ginn when he was here. Wow. But the 49ers have been really poor in terms of kick and punt return yardage. So those type of things I think are very much so something that we have to win in order to win the game. Those keys. Kurt Sampson has a question here that I think is a good one that I think that we should get to, Mike, is if we get beat, what's going to be the storyline? What will have to happen for the 49ers to get beat by the Steelers? And if we do get beat, what are the national media? They're going to go off. What's national media going to be saying about this?
Let me start with what has to happen. The 49ers, just really bad turnovers, like self-inflicted wounds, not taking away anything from the Steelers, because once those turnovers happen, they got to capitalize, right? So, I don't take this as disrespect to the couple of Steelers fans that are watching this right now. But it's the self-inflicted wounds. Like I said, the passes are going to be coming out quick. You can't do what we saw Kadarius Toney and those Chiefs receivers do, where the ball is bouncing off of their hands and letting the Steelers pick it off, right? Those are the self-inflicted wounds I'm talking about. Be dependable for your quarterback, running backs, ball security, right? Those kind of things. If we have silly turnovers like that, or lapses in the defense where, you see Talanoa Hufanga biting on a run fake and they go deep on them, right? Those are the kind of things that we can't have and afford to have happen. Two things have to happen for a play like that to be successful. One, he bites, and two, they take advantage of it. So it involves both teams. Let me be very clear again with what I'm saying. The storyline, though, will be too much turmoil in the offseason. Nick Bosa got back too late. Brock Purdy sophomore slump. There's going to be plenty to write about as far as why the 49ers lost. Kyle Shanahan overrated. Has the league figured him out? Like I said, the Chiefs lost the game by literally 1 point, and it was, is this the demise of the Chiefs franchise? Like, ESPN, what are you doing? Like, come on, dude, stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like, one game and literally 1 point, and all of a sudden it's the demise of a team missing their best player on defense and their best player on offense. And you're going to say that because they lost by 1 point, the whole, like, it's over for them. Like, they're the defending Super Bowl champs, guys. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. I understand that there's going to be I said it first, I called it type of thing going on in the NFL and amongst beat writers and amongst content creators. But if we lose this game, there are plenty of storylines that are going to go around, and it also depends on how we do it, right? Matt mentioned something about the field position thing. What if Ronnie Bell is the return guy and he has two muff punts or muff kickoffs and fumbles the ball or something like that, right? Like, then that will be the storyline. 49ers rookies let them down, right? So it depends on how we lose the game. God forbid Brock Purdy has a bad game. That's the one storyline I don't think I'm ready to deal with. I'll be completely honest with you. And it's not that Brock Purdy can't have a bad game, but if Brock Purdy goes out here and throws more picks than he does touchdowns, or if he finishes the game with 150-something yards, 2 turnovers, no touchdown passes, like, those are the storylines that are going to carry on for weeks, just regardless of what we do the following week or even the week after that. It's like Brock Purdy sophomore slump. This is why he was Mr. Irrelevant. Those storylines don't go away after another week of success. So that's the one thing that I just don't want to see happen.
Absolutely. Christopher Hockenberry said they will play man coverage in the outside to prevent the quick pass. If you put Patrick Peterson outside in man coverage on a Brandon Ayuk, he's going to get fucking cooked all day.
Lunch food, dude. Like, he's taking your
all
food.
Day.
Don't do that. Like, that's the 3 o'clock.
Levi Wallace on a Deebo Samuel is like maybe, but like Brandon Ayuk route running is crisp.
It's filthy. Crispy. It's filthy. And I get it that a lot of people don't know it, because when people think 49ers wide receiver, the first one that comes to mind is Deebo. And I get that. I respect that. But, dude, you got to take our word for it. Every 49ers fan will tell you that Brandon Ayuk is a better wide receiver on the team.
Best pure wide receiver. I definitely agree. We also have Chip Hazard. Between Minka and Pat P, y'all not going to be able to throw the ball. Yeah, we go. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And I also know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, TJ Watt is really, really good. And what is he going to do? Let me just also say this. Kyle Shanahan has a way of taking your best defensive player, your best pass rusher, and making them invisible. Invisible.
He did it to Micah Parsons in the playoffs last year.
He did it
Chip
to Micah Parsons.
He had 5 interceptions.
He does it to Aaron Donald.
Yep. 5 interceptions last year, second most in the NFL next to Minka. We addressed this 2 years ago with Trayvon Diggs, who had 11 interceptions and led the NFL, but also gave up 1,300 yards receiving. Interceptions are not the only metric to measure by. Like, you can have 5 interceptions, and let's be real, 5 interceptions, that means if he had 1 interception in each game, that's not accounting for 2 interception games. He had an interception in 5 games, 12 games he did not.
Right.
So what are you giving it? Interceptions, cool, man. But like, when you're not getting interceptions, what are you doing the other part of the time? You can have an interception and give up 150 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. That don't mean shit.
I mean, and that's exactly what happens with guys like Diggs. That's what happens with Marcus Peters. That's why he's floated around the league. Marcus Peters, for a long time, he might still lead the league as far as active players with turnovers or interceptions, right? But he is a liability in pass coverage. He's a gambler. Like, that doesn't mean anything. If you're a Steelers fan and you want to brag on Patrick Peterson, talk about his 15 pass defense last year. That was his career high, by the way. I know that sounds insane, right? But yeah, that was his career high. He never had. Oh no, I'm sorry. I apologize. 2012, his second year, he had 16. So, talk about rejuvenation and bringing it back like how you had it before. That's where you want to go with the passes defense.
And I will say, anything that we're saying, it's not to throw shade at the Steelers. I'm not saying that we're going to beat them by 28 points or whatever, right? But
are we going to do score predictions?
We are at the end. Yeah. Okay. And we'll get into that. We're kind of just going into it. I have a lot of time tonight, so we're just kind of rolling. But we're not saying that it's going to be super easy. But at the same time, on paper, with results with the last couple of years, the 49ers are a better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. It is what it is. I'm perfectly reasonable to say that, in games where I don't feel like the 49ers are a better team. Right. Against Buffalo, I don't necessarily think that the 49ers are a better overall team. Against, last year, Kansas City, I didn't necessarily think that the 49ers were a better overall football team. This year, I think they are. I think that Kansas City got weaker on offense, and I think that makes a huge difference. I just it's one of those things where if I'm saying something, it's not to throw shade. It's just that, with everything that I've seen, you can't tell me that Kenny Pickett and company are a better overall football team than the 49ers because the results aren't there.
Right. Our offense is significantly better than the Steelers' offense. But with that said, and I will say this proudly, I'm going to hang my hat on this. This is going to be the best defense the Niners have played since Week 13 last year when we played the Saints. I do fully believe that. I can't think of a defense that we played all of last year that was as good as this Steelers defense. I mean, you look at the Niners' entire schedule last year.
I thought on paper, and I'd have to look at it, I thought that the Commanders were a top 10 defense last year.
Were they?
And we dropped 38 on them.
37, but yeah, I'm with you. Like, yeah. I mean, and if that's the case, then cool. But I mean,
yeah, it's one of those things where, and I feel like this is a thing that people don't take account for, right? Like, the Commanders could have a top 10 defense, but their offense was so bad. It's like what happened with the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo at times, right? Where Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of games would go 3 and out so many times that the defense, who had pitched a shutout up until the third quarter, mid-third quarter, they're like, fuck, we're tired because we're just playing all the defense. We're playing all the snaps in the game, right? Yeah. And so, like, I thought the Commanders had a really good defense that was hampered by their lack of ability to move the ball and score. So, that's a mitigating factor, but I thought that they were really good.
And I will say this to your point, right? The Commanders played the Niners the toughest last year, 7 points through the first half, but then the Niners just flipped a switch and went crazy on them after that because they finished the game with 37 points. But I mean, putting up 30 points in the second half is tough for any team in any half of football in the NFL. So, kudos to the Commanders. I do have the NFL rankings based off of yards. The Commanders were not a top 10 team. Let me see if maybe points per game. Let me put it in points per game here. Points per game, they were not a top 10 team either. Is this all? Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I'm looking at playoffs. I apologize. Washington was third ranked in yards per game. So you were right, because that's what the NFL does their rankings based off of. It's yards per game. Washington was third. So good call there.
Yeah.
And only bested by the Eagles and the 49ers. So good.
Yeah, very good defense. And like I said, I think that a lot of it was the fact that they were, they were running out less than stellar quarterback play. And his name is totally escaping me but their quarterback last year, just not very good. Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
Just not super good. Jaden says, Steelers fan in the Niners chat, LMAO. Listen, dude, I love when opposing teams play, like fans come in here and talk, because we love having, talking with them or whatever. Al Felipe says the line -2.5. 49ers basically stayed the same for 10 days. A lot of national media, a lot of pundits, whatever, are picking the Steelers to win this game. But Vegas is telling you what they think. And Vegas isn't Vegas because they give away money. They're telling you 2.5 points the 49ers are getting on the road, right? Usually, if they feel like the game is a wash, the home team is -3. They give you 3 points for being the home team, right?
So the Niners are essentially 5 points better than the Steelers.
Exactly. And they're telling you that. And I think that that's very interesting. A lot of the matchups I think favor the 49ers, but again, the Steelers play tough for Mike Tomlin. I don't think that it's going to be some type of blowout or whatever. Let's see.
Matt, that was while you're figuring out what you want to say. That was a really good call on Washington. I said the Saints, and the Saints were just 10 yards more a game than them, and they were fifth. So that was a really good call. I was doing it based off the top of my head, but that was a really good call. Man.
Listen, same for me too. I didn't have the stats in front of me, but I know that the Commanders had a really good defense last year, and they were kind of just let down by their offense at times.
Yeah,
and I mean, think about this. How much better would the Commanders' defense have been with competent offensive play?
Right, exactly. And then
because how much we saw it with the 49ers last year, right? When Brock Purdy, and it was the weirdest thing, when Brock Purdy became the 49ers quarterback and they started scoring 35 points a game, what went up for the 49ers? Forced turnovers,
yeah. Exactly.
Because the offense was able to stay on the field and give the defense an actual break.
Reprieve,
and when they did that, they started forcing more turnovers. And I think that it's very underlooked how much that fatigue aspect plays a part, which does worry me about the 49ers strength of schedule because of, like I said, when I was on with Ted, the -20 rest days. So the 49ers per league average have 20 less rest days than everybody else because of how much they travel. It adds up to like 20 days worth of like not rest.
Right.
Now, what I would do is I would install like spas and like sweet beds on those private jets that they take, and kind of like take some of that. Okay, is this really travel if I'm like sleeping the whole time? Like maybe not. You know what I mean? So
right. Yep. No, I get you, man. That was a good call though.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna start getting into the scores of the game, offensive, defensive MVP. And then, we're going to wrap it up here soon. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours, which is great. Thank you for taking the time out. It's been a good distraction for me. I hope it's been a good distraction for you with all you've got going on.
Absolutely.
But
we needed this.
The 49ers win if, give me an example. 49ers lose if, give me an example.
The 49ers win if Colton McKivitz does not disappoint. If he buys time, I have confidence in Burford. I have confidence in Brindell. I have confidence in Banks, and I definitely have confidence in Trent Williams. As long as we are just not getting whooped at the right tackle position. Brock Purdy will have time. The holes will be there for the running backs to take advantage of. And you told me that the rain is supposed to stop before the game. Oh boy. Oh boy. That 5 points that you just broke down, the 2.5, taking away the 3 that they're on the road, the Niners might win this game by 2 scores. Like that, and it's the exact opposite for if we lose. If we are getting whooped, you can make Brock Purdy uncomfortable. We haven't really seen that happen yet in his young career. We're only 7 games in, right? We haven't seen him be uncomfortable back there. If you can force that out of him, then maybe you have a shot. And if the offense can't get going, a low-scoring game usually favors home teams. So, yeah, we live and die with the offensive line, and specifically the right tackle. Sorry, Colton McKivitz, but you got to step up, man. You're in the big leagues now.
Absolutely. I agree. The offensive line play is going to be very important. The 49ers win if they can neutralize TJ Watt and really allow the offense to do what it does. The 49ers will lose if they do not contain Najee Harris. I think that is such a big component of the game. If they allow Najee Harris to get comfortable and he's averaging 4 to 5 yards per carry, that's going to open things up for Kenny Pickett and the offense passing-wise to really kind of start working the 49ers defense. And then you're going to see those long extended drives, right? 11 plays, 58 yards, right? But they score a touchdown.
Can I just
16
say
play, 75-yard drives, touchdown.
Can I just say that there is a scenario where I can see Najee Harris having a good game on paper, averaging 4+ yards a carry, and the Niners still win. It's if we're blowing them out and we're playing all just pass defense, and he's just getting the 10 yards here,
sure,
type of thing. You know what I'm saying? And I could actually, again, Steeler fans, don't hate me for this, but I could see that happening if we get up to a 2-score lead early. You know what I'm saying? The Niners, let me tell you guys something. The Niners scripted plays are really good. Brock Purdy is excellent at executing the scripted plays. And then we're also really good at the 2-minute drives, the 2-minute drill. So those two things combined, if we do those early, we'll get the 2 scores. And I trust our defense to stop those guys. We could be in a 2-score lead just like that. And then we could get into not so much prevent defense, but we can get into where we're playing the pass more than we are the run. And Najee Harris is definitely good enough to take advantage of it. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. The other thing that we got to worry about is, again, that travel. Sometimes the 49ers play a little bit lethargic on those East Coast trips. I'm not as worried about it because it is week 1 on the road. It's just interesting to me that back-to-back years the 49ers start on the road. Hopefully it's a better outcome than last year. But definitely it's going to be a good game. I think there's something about 49ers Steelers and the physicality of that game that is going to be very, very much welcome. It was kind of, the opening game of the season, Chiefs-Lions. Chiefs not a super physical football team, and I think that's what the Lions took advantage of. And it was a little bit of a mismatch in terms of physicality, not talent, but physicality. And I think that the Lions successfully mucked the game up. I think that with both teams being physical teams here, 49ers Steelers, that the cream is going to rise to the top. And I think the 49ers just have better players overall. With that being said, Mike, why don't you give me your offensive MVP for the game?
Offensive MVP. We kind of touched on it at the very top of the show. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to go with Deebo Samuel. I think that, and I said it based off of the weather. Short passes play into his kind of game. Being able to move him all around, some end-around plays. We know he's going to get in the backfield as well. He's going to be that quintessential OW.
Quintessential,
yeah. The OW that the Niners pegged Kyle Juszczyk as when they first got him, right? But that's going to be what Deebo Samuel is here, and so I think that this is a game for him to just shine, and I really, really do.
My offensive MVP is going to be, and again, I think we're both kind of avoiding the low-hanging fruit that is Christian McCaffrey. it's too easy to just say Chris McCaffrey offensive MVP, because that dude could have 100 in any given game, and we wouldn't be surprised necessarily.
Right.
I think Brock Purdy is going to have 300 yards passing and 3 total touchdowns tomorrow. I think that he, again, you know, and it's not just because it's Brock Purdy, right? I just think that the way that Brock Purdy is, that level of competitiveness and that having what I call the red ass, as it were, is going to lead him to really want to stick it to people who have been criticizing him throughout the offseason and really looking to see him on a downfall. And, it's like the more haters you have, the better you're doing, right? And Brock Purdy has a lot of haters right now. I think he's going to answer resoundingly that my elbow's fine. I'm going to be able to go out there and play 49ers football. I think like 313, 2 touchdowns, passing, 1 rushing is like pretty good for him. So, Mike, defensive MVP, who you got?
I am going to go with defensive MVP. I don't know who it's going to be because I don't know who's going to be starting technically. I'm going to go with whoever our nickel corner is. Matt, do you have any idea who the nickel is going to be?
I don't. The battle between Isaiah Oliver and Samuel Womack, and even they were talking potentially putting Diamador Lenore at the nickel at some point, tells me that they don't know who it is. Yeah. So I definitely don't know. Jimbo, to answer your comment, is Kittle starting? He's listed as questionable. If he's listed as questionable, I would guess that he is going to play.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to go with whoever the nickel is. I think whoever is the nickel has 2 picks on the day. Especially if it's Womack. Womack just has a nose for the ball. He is a playmaker out there. He was just a little bit of a liability in the run game. But I think that we can afford to do that this year with the addition of Hargrave. So I think that we can have a liability in the run game at the nickel position. So I'm gonna go with him or whoever is the nickel guy. Two picks.
Okay. Real quick before I give my defensive player of the game, Stevo says a college team played on Pittsburgh's field today. That's interesting to me. Do you think that that's going to negatively impact the playing surface for tomorrow for an NFL game?
Did they really play today?
Apparently.
Holy smokes. I don't. Yeah. Yes, it will. Resetting. What kind of field do they play on? Is it
grass?
Natural? It's natural grass.
Natural grass. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It can. That means that they have. There's going to be divots that haven't reset yet, and think. Oh man, that could be a footing issue for a lot of teams. I mean, I have the UFC game on. Well, the very end of it here, and this field looks terrible. I can't imagine a team going out there and playing on this. Right away.
Here's the thing, though. I'm looking at the stadium website, and they don't show a team playing yesterday. The last thing that they show is the Pittsburgh Panthers playing Syracuse at the stadium.
What was the date on that?
Let's see.
That's wild. I didn't know that they were even allowed to do back. I mean, I know that NFL had a problem with concerts happening the same weekend or, the Friday before Sunday game. Like the NFL was like really like getting down on that. That's new to me. That's impressive.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me look at their schedule.
In the bad way, by the way, too. Now, with that said, that tells me that we go away from the run game a little bit and get back into the passing game, which just plays into the hands of Debo, like I said. So yeah, I mean, it'll be what it is. The one good thing is it's level playing field for both teams. There's no it's not like one team benefits more than the other, It's not like, oh, the Steelers always play on a bad field and the Niners don't. So that's not gonna make that big of a difference.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Let me see.
Mayoko said there was a game Friday and Saturday. What?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm looking at the highlights right now. They definitely played at the stadium. Yeah. The college game was definitely played at the stadium today.
3 days in a row, though?
Apparently,
a high school played there on Friday, they said.
Apparently.
What?
Apparently. That's wild to me. That's wild to me.
That should be illegal. I can't wait to see the conditions of the field.
With natural grass, I mean, they better hope they have the best grounds crew in the league. Defensive player of the game for me.
Oh, Christ. You remember what week was it when we lost Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas? Was that week 1 and week 2?
Week 2.
We played on the Jets.
Week 2 at the Jets. But that's a turf field, and that's at MetLife.
Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, grass typically tends to be a little bit more forgiving on bodies, but like Chip Hazard says, better get your good cleats out. And that's for the Steelers too. That like they better get the good cleats out, because that field is, you can't tell me that you can replace that level of grass and not have some footing issues. I would imagine that there's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding around. And as Jimbo says, slow turf is good for the Steelers. I think that bad conditions level the playing field in terms of talent, and that could benefit the Steelers. So, defensive MVP for me, I think that we got to roll with our boy who just got his new contract, Nick Bosa.
Are you going to give us your famous stat line?
Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble, baby. That's what's got to be. That's what's.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
You know, it happened last year, the 1 week that I missed the post game or the pregame or whatever, and I wasn't able to get. Yeah. So for me, like, it didn't happen. If I didn't see it, it didn't happen, right? So Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. Mike, you know, this is going to be apparently, hopefully, a good game, but apparently a hard-fought game. So what do we got on final score predictions? And before you give me yours, I just want to remind everybody in the chat here today, and that includes, honestly, everybody that's come over here on the simulcast from Nothing But Niners. We're going to include all you guys in that. If you guess the 49ers and Pittsburgh Steelers final score correctly, 49ers Hive will send you a jersey of your choice.
Boom, baby.
Yep.
All right.
What do you got?
I'm going to go 27-17 Niners.
That's a good one. I think, man, 27-17 is a good one. I think that it's going to be slightly closer than that. I'm going to go 23-17 49ers. And I think that Brock Purdy is going to account for all 3 touchdowns in one way or another. I think 2 passing, and then he's going to run 1 in. It's going to be an interesting game, that's for sure. But I will tell you this, Mike, 2023, 49ers football is back as of tomorrow.
As of today for me. I'm on the West. I'm on the East Coast.
You're on East Coast time. Exactly. It's 11:08 Pacific time. Mike, you're over there, 2:08 a.m. Man, how you feeling, man?
It's game day, baby.
11 hours, 10 hours and 52 minutes until first kickoff for the 49ers. How you feeling?
Let's go, man. I'm ready to crack a Red Bull and just stay up. I want to run it all the way through, man. I am ready to go over here, bro. Like, I'm dead serious. I'm still contemplating on going live on my Patreon right after this. Like, it's nuts. I don't know if I should do it or not, or if I should just save it or what. But like, I'm that excited. I'm turned up, man. It took me a long time to get excited for, like I said, the 49ers season. It was more nerves and things like that, and just what the negatives are, what the positives are, and what to expect and all that. And then I decided, like, it just settled, man. Like, let's just see what happens and enjoy the ride.
I got a question for you. Who's joining on your Patreon after this?
No one.
I feel like my wife and my child are asleep. So if you need company, you might as well just let it rock.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
All
Might
right.
as well.
I'm gonna have more beer. Under one condition.
Yes.
You continue to drink with me while we do it.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. I'm gonna get more beer. Listen, I got this joint right here. I don't know how many people are into IPAs, but I got this sweet Stone and Joy by 103123. They come out with like beers that are they're based off of like holidays. So like they have one for Halloween, they have one for Christmas, they have one for New Year's, they have one for 4th of July. But apparently it's frighteningly fresh.
All right.
So this Stone and Joy by 321 or 103123 hazy IPA. This bitch is 9.4% alcohol.
Holy smokes, man. You're over there on that Victory Wild Sour Monkey shit over there, man. That's what I'm talking about.
9.4%.
Get her done,
listen,
man.
We do beer in San Diego, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. I'm over here on Tito's, bro.
This fool said the best IPA is in Pennsylvania, Matt. Look them up. Fuck you. No, it's not. San Diego.
Hold on now. I can't listen. I got a rep from the state that I live in now, man. I'm not a beer drinker, but I'm just gonna ride with what he said. Mike, we got the best ones. I'm sorry. Mike, I'm not a beer drinker guy.
Mike,
I'm sorry.
I feel like we can settle this. You come out and visit me in San Diego. I'll go to Pennsylvania, and we can decide. We can have a beer off.
Okay. Now, how do you grade a good beer? Is it based off of taste and like?
It's gonna be the balance of like, so sometimes heavy alcohol beers, you can taste the alcohol, right? You just like,
yeah,
you know, it's not good. Sometimes for me, I don't enjoy so much a super malty beer. I like a more hoppy beer, like a pinier beer. So if you're talking about like, you know, when you smell that bitch, if it smells like Christmas, that's what I like. You know what I mean? If you got a hazy IPA and you pour it into a glass and it looks like orange juice, that's a good hazy IPA. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like there are different. Listen, IPAs, we're the king of IPAs here in California. Look, 49 or 55. IPA best is in California. You damn right.
I tried to rep for Pennsylvania, guys, but I am not a beer drinker. I am sorry. I put up the best fight I can.
Don't get it twisted, bro. You know, in 2019, when you were out there for the 49ers home opener and we were at fucking San Pedro Market Square or whatever, and I was giving you them IPAs.
He hooked me up.
You know that you love that shit.
They were good. I'm not going to lie to you guys. They were good. But if you ask me what I drank,
I wasn't even going to hand him a bad IPA. I wasn't going to be like, hey, Mike, try this beer. It's good. It's good. No, man. I'm gonna let him represent the best of the best.
I am a cigar guy, and that's what I do to people when they ask me for cigars, especially if I know they don't smoke. I give them like my bad ones and say, oh, here you go, buddy. This is a really good one. And because I can tell that they don't smoke cigars a lot, they're like, oh, okay, man, this is a really good cigar. And I'm sitting here like, dude.
I'm the opposite. I'm gonna give you the best of the best. I'm gonna give you shit stuff if you don't know. I want to give you the good stuff so that you know.
But you won't appreciate it because you don't know what's good. You have nothing to compare it to.
But hey, Mike, you need to give me a bad cigar first and then give me a good cigar afterwards.
Exactly.
I'll be able to tell the difference.
Right. If you were trying to get into it, that's different. Then we would have to have a long, 3-4 hour session. Yeah, that's different. Absolutely. They said, what do I drink?
RIP to San Francisco Anchor.
I am a Scotch guy true and through, man. Give me a really, really good Scotch. Not whiskey Scotch, but Scotch is like, the upgraded version of whiskey, right? Like whiskey is a Toyota and Scotch is the Lexus. Like that's what it comes down to. And I love a good Scotch, man. I am a Macallan guy. Macallan is probably one of my favorite ones.
Macallan's really good.
It's definitely
I'm a bourbon guy myself. I really like bourbon. But I'm like a basic bitch, dude. Give me the oldest distillery in America. Give me that Buffalo Trace. Buffalo Trace to me is like really good.
Wow.
I ain't fucking with it.
There you go. I like it, man.
I've had Elijah Craig. I've had Four Roses. I've had like a lot of the other like
Four Roses. Look at you.
I know, dude.
Reminds me of like the old heads, man.
Buffalo Trace, though, to me, like if you and like I don't really drink bourbon neat. Like that's not my thing. I don't drink bourbon just by itself. But Buffalo Trace inside of an old fashioned, I fuck with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my jam.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it, man. We got to get together. We're going to get together at some point this season, man.
Yeah. No, for sure. We definitely have to, whether it's, you're flying out here. I know that we got like, I don't know, we're trying to go to some sort of game. I got my daughter.
I am going to the Cowboys game. It's already in the books. I'm going to the Cowboys game. I'm going to be there with my daughter. My wife is trying to figure out if she wants to come with us or not, but I am going to be there. So. Yep.
Yeah. But we'll figure it out. So Mike, we got final score predictions in. Football's back. We're about to do your Patreon. So anybody here on 49ers Hive, listen, man, go subscribe to the Nothing But Niners Patreon. What's the Patreon?
It's actually in your chat or in your banners if you want to pop it up there, but it's patreon.com/NB9ERS. Patreon.com/NB9ERS. We are going to go over there. Boom. There it is right there on our
There
map.
it is.
You guys can see it down there in that corner over there. Patreon.com/NB9ERS. We are going to bring you guys a live show right there, exclusive. We'll break down some pressers. We'll try to decipher some of the BS and all that. And we'll have a lot of fun heading into this game, man. We'll see what we can decipher from it.
Absolutely. Love it, man. Besides the Patreon, where can the people find you, Mike?
49ers, content is always brewing over here. It's something that lives and dies with me. You guys can see my Twitter handle is right here below, Mike Andrews 83. I actually don't tweet a lot because I find that I get annoyed when I start repeating myself, and I'm so conscious of repeating myself. If I tweet something, I don't like to say it, even though I don't have the biggest Twitter audience. So guys, give me a follow on Nothing But Niners on YouTube. And that's where you'll get most of everything that I have to say and think over there. That's going to be the one. And yes, I am going to the Eagles game also. I see that question in there from 49ers55. I will be at the Eagles game.
If I didn't have a newborn daughter, that would be the one that I'd be like, all right, I need to. Yeah.
That's the one. That's the game everyone circled on the calendar, man. Like we got to go out there and try to, atone for our wrongs.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So Zach usually does a chat pack. I don't have chat pack in front of me. I'm just gonna go online and be like, hey, what's a good question to ask in terms of chat pack style? Mike, this one's gonna be a more simple one, but I think it's one that is definitely something that is more personal to people. Nigel Crane says, Matt, are you going to the Rams game? The road game. That is week 2. I'm not going to that. My daughter is 2 weeks old. I definitely cannot get out of the house yet. Yeah. So I kind of gotta play that. And I showed Mike and Zach earlier. My daughter smiled for my wife for the first time. God. Oh my God, she is so adorable.
Oh my God.
But it's the little things. I'm just enjoying that stuff right now, man. Like that to me is more important than football. I'm gonna watch football obviously tomorrow, but I'm just in the midst of being a new dad, and that's kind of my thing. I'm looking to go to games later in the season, so I could go to a Rams game at Levi's. It's just going to depend on stuff going around. But Mike, for this chat pack, what is your favorite color, and why is it your favorite color?
So this is actually a really tough question for me. I have favorite colors to look at, and then I have favorite colors to wear. And that's why it's always been tough, right? My grandmother was a lavender girl. So I grew up and I was really partial to purple in general, right? Like, so my whole childhood, if you ask me my favorite color, I said purple. Most people are like mama's boys, right? Like I was a grandma's boy growing up. So purple was like my favorite color to look at. I just think that there's something about like, I don't think it's a real color.
Mike, are you going to the game tomorrow?
No. So I was supposed to go, guys. My wife is in the hospital, and I am not going anywhere. I'll be home. We'll be doing this show live on Patreon, watching the game together. I was supposed to be going to this game, though. This was one that I was supposed to be going to.
Sorry to interrupt you. I thought it was a pertinent question, but yeah. So purple growing up with your grandmother.
There's a royal purple color. I call it royal. Like it's not the deep, dark, Barney purple. It's a bright, vibrant purple. It's not like a lavender where it starts to get all pastel-y like that. Like it's a bright, vibrant purple, and that has been my favorite. Like it does something to the eye. It catches me. However, believe it or not, my favorite colors to wear are like black and gray. I love wearing black and gray. Like I if you ever catch me out in the streets, like I probably have some combination of black, white, red in there. Like those are like my colors. I absolutely love it, man. So black is my favorite color to wear.
Damn, man. Like you're kind of killing it for me right here. Purple is my favorite color.
Oh shit.
And
really?
Not like lighter shades. I do like darker shades of purple. Think Sacramento Kings purple.
Yeah. That's a nice color. Yeah.
Like that plum purple. That's my favorite color. And you're right. I don't typically wear it. I mean, obviously for a man, they don't make too many things like that. I will wear a suit or a tie. Actually not a suit necessarily, but like a collared shirt or a tie in that color. I will wear that. Typically in terms of colors I like to dress in, black.
Yeah.
For sure. Listen, dude, we're two big dudes. Like, hey, black is slimming.
It feels like a cop-out, right?
Right. But also dark blue. I feel like because I have blue eyes, if I wear blue, it tends to make my eyes pop.
Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, my wife likes it when I wear blue. Any shade of blue. Baby blue, I think, makes me look like a fucking whale. But dark blue I can handle, and I'll wear dark blue. Ironically enough, for a 49ers fan, I fucking hate wearing red.
Oh
Red
man, you can't know. Listen, I pull red off like a motherfucker. I'm not gonna lie. Red is up there for me for some of my favorite colors to wear. And you know what I try to force? I don't have a lot, but this mustard color, I love trying to pull it off, man. I love it. I only have like 2 things in my entire wardrobe, but I even went out and bought a pair of sneakers that were mustard color just so I can wear it with the tops that I have. Like I have these hoodies in there, and I love it, man.
Listen, as a Padres fan, I feel like I can pull off brown and yellow, but I can't. Red for me is a struggle, man. I feel like I don't know why. I just feel like it's a struggle for me.
Well, you don't want to get red shoes, and it's like, what am I doing? Like, you know what I mean? But I have them. I have black and red. I have red and black shoes. I have. I actually wore. So, do I have them out here still? They might be in my bedroom. My lucky shoes that I wear throughout the year. I have these Grant Hill Fila sneakers.
Okay. Yeah.
And they are white. They're white with red and black stripes going through the colors. So, and it's got a little bit of mustard yellow in it also. It kind of encompasses everything that I just told you. So those are my favorite pair of sneakers that I have. They're lightweight, they're comfortable, they're great. So That's it, man.
By the way, Chris Asorno says no home jerseys for Matt, but I exclusively wear the home reds because I will tell you, if you give me a white jersey, I'm gonna spill something on that shit.
And I always spill something red on the white jerseys. It drives me crazy. I don't know why I'm like that, man. I get wing sauce on them, spaghetti sauce. I won't even wear anything red. One time, I'm not kidding, hand to God, I have this this like authentic Frank Gore jersey back when it was Reebok, right? So like the really heavy jerseys.
Yeah.
I told myself this jersey was a couple $100. It was like $300 something. It was a gift. The stitching and everything, like back in the day. Anyway, I was like, I'm not going to eat anything red. I'm not going to drink anything red. So if I spill something, it's not going to ruin this jersey. A fucking mosquito landed on me and I slapped it right in the middle of my chest. And there's a little red.
Yeah,
bro, pissing me off.
I know. I can't do white. And actually, speaking of jerseys, listen, somebody asked me why I didn't have the Bosa jersey on when we went forward with the deal. I said I was saving it for tomorrow. That's what I'm going to be wearing tomorrow, my home red Bosa jersey. So 2 videos ago on the 49ers Hive channel, if you look, I'm wearing the home Bosa jersey, the Vapor Elite with I love that it has the elastic sleeves. That's like my jam, dude.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to be wearing tomorrow. Besides that, I feel like I've had the same uniform game day like tradition for a while now. I have some training shorts with 49ers logo on it. And I have the 2019 long sleeve. It's just like a long sleeve shirt, but it's so cool. I'll have to wear it. I'll have to wear it at some point, but
nice.
Yeah, that's typically what we have with that. So
I'm going with red sweats tomorrow, my away Eric Armstead jersey, and the Grant Hill sneakers.
Yeah. Jesus Moody is going to be the kicker tomorrow.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
Good. All right, Mike.
Man. Good show.
I think that's going to wrap it up for us. I'll join you on your Patreon following this, but for the 49ers Hive Red and Gold Standard podcast, I think that about does it for us. Mike, any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man, guys, I can't emphasize this enough. If you are here from Nothing But Niners, make sure you guys subscribe to the Red and Gold Standard podcast over here, man. 49ers Hive. This is where it is. Search YouTube, look for 49ers Hive, and please subscribe because we bring you guys these shows all year long, but you will no longer see them here on the Nothing But Niners channel. That's all I got for you guys.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you as always, everybody, for joining us. I mean, we got 208 in here right now. That was a pretty consistent number overall for us. Thank you as always for joining us. I hope you guys join us in the future when we're not simulcasting. I love having you guys here. Mike, go ahead.
Free opportunity at a jersey, guys. When the video is over, put your predictions in the chat. You can put it in the live chat. They do look at the live chat, but also put it in there in the comments afterwards. Just put what you think the final score is going to be. Who do you think the winner is?
You know what's crazy? I feel like one of these times we're going to be like, put your score predictions in, and like 8 dudes are going to be like 21-14, and it's going to be fucking 21-14. But fuck it, dude. We're going to hold it. We're going to hold it. So
there you go, man.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We love having you here. Mike, thank you as always for joining us. Nothing But Niners is essentially our kindred channel. And it's always fun to talk football with you. Zach, I know you're watching. You're out there. I hope you feel better. I hope that you can join us tomorrow for the post-game show. With that being said, let's go out, start of the NFL season. Let's go get a dub. Let's get this out of the way early. Quick start. Let's put that narrative that Kyle Shanahan can't get anybody motivated to start the season with the 49ers quickly. This is a Super Bowl year. There's a window. It's open.
Let's do it.
Let the breeze roll through. Thank you as always, everybody, for joining us. Mike, give them the signal. Until next time, go Niners.
Peace.